Chapter 437. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Then I'll go get it when I have time. We don't lack 5th-rank resources, but we still need the people around us. The most important thing is that they give us high-grade spirit stones. Night Sorrow said with a smile. We don't have high expectations for this. Rank determines the treatment. Night Sorrow, do you know the concept of a celestial oracle? Sikong Chuyu looked at Night Sorrow and asked. I don't know. I don't know what kind of position it is. Night Sorrow shook his head. He still didn't understand the internal situation of Tianji Tower. There are only a few celestial oracles in Tianji Tower. They have a lot of power. It can be said that except for the Tower Master, Deputy Tower Master, Chief Supervisor, Chief Protector, and the Tower Masters in other regions, everyone else is a subordinate. The celestial oracles are the representatives of the Tower Master and Deputy Tower Master. Sikong Chuyu said. Night Sorrow was stunned. This concept was a bit general, but he understood the general meaning. Except for a limited number of people in power, everyone else was a subordinate. But I don't think they take me seriously. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You have the treatment of a celestial oracle now, but you don't have the power because you haven't officially taken up the position. Sikong Chuyu said. Night Sorrow nodded. He didn't care about this. He wasn't a fan of power and didn't have any desire for power. Otherwise, he wouldn't have refused to take up the position of Young Master of Medicine Valley. One must know that Medicine Valley was now one of the 7 superpowers in Eastern Profound Domain. After chatting with the 2 girls for a while, Night Sorrow planned to go out and see Kuan Nan. He wanted to see what was going on in Broken Cloud Mountain. Night Sorrow stopped when he reached the street. He felt that he was being watched. This was his intuition. When Yi Shang stopped, a familiar person appeared not far in front of him. Night Sorrow was stunned when he saw this person. He didn't expect to meet such a familiar person here. It was the blacksmith uncle who gave him the sky-piercing spear. Why are you surprised? Let's find a place to treat this uncle to a drink. A sloppy-looking blacksmith with a pair of tattered leather shoes said. All right. If Night Sorrow still didn't know that this blacksmith wasn't simple, then he would be a fool. Finding a restaurant, Night Sorrow asked for a private room. He took out a jar of green carrot leopard bone wine and poured a bowl for the blacksmith. I know you have a lot of questions, but I can't tell you too much. It's already against the rules to look for you today, the blacksmith said after taking a sip of wine. Night Sorrow nodded. All right, uncle, please speak. This junior will listen. Someone wants to kill you. The news came from the Qingtian region. The Assassin Hall of the Eastern Xian region has rejected this mission. However, there will still be people who will carry out this mission. So, you have to be careful. The blacksmith drank another bowl of wine and said, Thank you for your advice, senior. Night Sorrow stood up and bowed to the blacksmith. It's nothing. I just don't want to see anything happen to you. It's fine as long as you know. The blacksmith stood up and glanced at Night Sorrow. Then he stood up and left the restaurant. When he left, he even held the jar of wine in his hand. Night Sorrow took out another jar of wine and poured half a bowl for himself. He thought as he tasted the wine. At this moment, he understood that this blacksmith uncle was most likely a member of the Assassin Hall, one of the top forces in the Eastern Xian city. Night Sorrow couldn't understand why someone from another region would give him a mission to kill him. He hadn't even left the Eastern Xian region. If he had a grudge, it would be with the Sikong family and Jiyu family of the Qingtian region. However, if he had a grudge with them, he would be the one taking revenge. Why would they want to kill him? After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that he should wait for the opinions of Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. Perhaps he could come up with some other ideas. After leaving the restaurant, Night Sorrow went to the city lord's mansion and met with Elder Kuan Nan. Night Sorrow asked about the situation at the Broken Cloud Mountain of the Star Cloud sect. I heard that they were blocking the entrance of the spatial tunnel. They caught a dark spirit corpse and killed it. However, after one of the dark spirit corpses was killed, they became smarter. They didn't give us a chance to surround and kill them. They fought with us at the entrance of the spatial tunnel. If they couldn't win, they would retreat. Kuan Nan said. These bastards are quite smart. Night Sorrow was a little dissatisfied that they only killed one dark spirit corpse. YJT-74 version 1-inch. Their intelligence is indeed high. However, they can't do anything for now. Our people have killed most of the dark spirit corpses. Only a small portion of them are roaming around the area. Kuan-nen said. Then it's not a big problem. Night Sorrow felt a little more at ease. No, the problem now is big. Previously, when Elder Dai Tianxiang and Elder Lei blocked the entrance of the spatial tunnel and were about to kill a dark spirit corpse, a large hand reached out from the spatial tunnel and forced Elder Lei and Elder Dai to retreat. Although it was unexpected, we can still guess that there was a strong person inside the spatial tunnel. Kuan-nen said. How could that be? Night Sorrow's body trembled. Attacking through the spatial tunnel was a heaven-defying method. After analyzing it, we found that the fellow was strong. However, it was still far from our City Lord's level. That spatial tunnel didn't reject the death energy, so it didn't affect its attack. It was completely different from the City Lord's ability to catch a half-step venerable from the spatial tunnel. Kuan-nen said. That's good. Do you need me to lead the Bloodstrike Guard into battle? Night Sorrow asked, breathing a sigh of relief. The Bloodstrike Guard Squad 5 that you lead is currently at a stage where its potential is rising. Using actual combat to train is the best way to cultivate. You can make the decision yourself. This is the City Lord's will. The resources of the Bloodstrike Guard Squad 5 are provided by the City Lord's mansion, but the City Lord's mansion won't participate in other aspects. You can make the decision on your own. Night Sorrow nodded. I understand. I'll ask the Bloodstrike Guard brothers for their opinions. Don't worry about that. The Bloodstrike Guard Squad 5 has expressed their willingness to follow you. They will follow your decision. Kuan-nen nodded. Night Sorrow then left the City Lord's mansion. The brothers of the Bloodstrike Guard Squad 5 were willing to follow him. Night Sorrow didn't say anything. He was very touched. This was the trust of brothers. When he returned to the mansion, Yi Shang saw the Bloodstrike Guards sparring and cultivating their battle skills. Yang Lei was also training with her disciples. Night Sorrow waved at Yang Lei. Yang Lei informed Jiang Ziming and went to Night Sorrow's side. Sikong Chuyu had also brewed a pot of tea. What's wrong? Did something happen? Yang Lei asked. Things are a little troublesome. Someone from the assassination hall has placed a bounty on me. Night Sorrow explained the details to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. There's no one else besides the Jiyu family. It seems like they have infiltrated the eastern Xian region. However, they don't have much power. They can only obtain information, but they can't do anything about it. That's why they asked the assassination hall to take action. Sikong Chuyu's face was filled with anger. She knew that this was the trouble she had brought to Night Sorrow. Don't worry. I'm already prepared. They won't succeed so easily, Night Sorrow said. Chapter 438. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? Here's a wonderful novel for you to read. Night Sorrow then went to the City Lord's manor and told Kuan-nen about the matter. Love go little Hugh, how audacious. You're a law enforcer of the City Lord's manor. They actually dared to put a bounty on you. You don't have to worry about this. I'll deal with it. Kuan-nen was furious when he heard Night Sorrow's words. Elder Kuan, it's nothing. You're just helping me investigate. If anyone from the Qingtian region comes, just let me know. If they dare to come, I won't kill them, but I'll definitely kill them, said Yishan. I know. Kuan-nen nodded at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow left the City Lord's manor and returned to his own residence. Kuan-nen thought for a moment, then left the City Lord's manor and went to the mountain where Wu Lingfei was cultivating. What's wrong? Broken Cloud Mountain can't hold on anymore? Wu Lingfei opened her eyes and looked at Kuan-nen. It's not about Broken Cloud Mountain. It's about Night Sorrow. Kuan-nen bowed. Night Sorrow? What happened to Night Sorrow? Wu Lingfei stood up. It's the Hall of Assassins. They accepted the mission to kill Night Sorrow. The Hall of Assassins in the eastern Xian region refused to carry out the mission, but there are still people who can carry out the mission. Kuan-nen told her the purpose of his visit. How audacious! Wu Lingfei's body flashed and she left the mountain. Seeing Wu Lingfei's figure disappear, Kun Nan hurriedly flew toward Dongxian City. Soon, Wu Lingfei stood in front of the Hall of Assassins pavilion. With a wave of her hand, she shattered the lintel of the Hall of Assassins along with the main door. No need to hide. Get out here. Wu Lingfei roared after shattering the lintel of the Hall of Assassins pavilion. Following Wu Lingfei's words, a few people dressed in different clothes appeared. The one in the lead was a merchant. Greetings, Lord Quebec. The old merchant bowed to the golden-masked Wu Lingfei. The Hall of Assassins can now accept missions to kill the core members of the Eastern Xian region's Tianji Tower? Wu Lingfei asked coldly. Lord K, please calm down. I will go and investigate the situation. The old merchant's eyes were filled with shock. Wu Lingfei's aura, he couldn't circulate the energy in his body. I'll tell you now. If this mission continues, I'll go to the 9 regions and 18 prefectures and wipe out all the members of your assassination hall. Don't doubt my ability. You can't make the decision, so just send my words back to the headquarters. Tell your hall master that this is my will. I used to be called the Golden Phoenix. Wu Lingfei waved her arm again and the top floor of the assassination hall was blown away. I will pass the message to the headquarters. The fat merchant, who was the person in charge of the Hall of Assassins, bowed again. Also, bring the information of the next Hall of Assassins to Tianji Tower. Don't talk to me about the rules of the Hall of Assassins. In my eyes, my fists are the rules. Wu Lingfei's voice wasn't loud, but it was absolutely domineering. At this time, Kun Nan arrived, followed by a group of black iron guards. Lord! Kun Nan bowed to Wu Lingfei. Clean up! After saying these 2 words, Wu Lingfei's body flashed and left the Hall of Assassins. Elder Protector! The fat merchant wiped the sweat from his forehead. Elder Mu, you didn't do the right thing this time. Kun Nan said. Elder Protector, this way please. Musha said. The Hall of Assassins was very strong, but that was only relative. They were inferior to the City Lord's mansion and Tianji Tower. Mu Sha led Kun Nan across the dilapidated building to the backyard of the Hall of Assassins. Elder Protector, what's going on? Mu Sha said with some hesitation. Your Hall of Assassins has a mission to hunt down Night Sorrow, right? You should have investigated. With his excellent qualifications, do you think his position in Tianji Tower is low? He's definitely a core member. Also, to tell you the truth, he's also a guard of the City Lord's mansion. Kun Nan sat down and said, We were really foolish this time. Elder Kun, you know that we can investigate some information, but we don't interfere with the Tianji Tower and the City Lord's mansion, so there are some things that we don't know. I found out that he contributed a lot to the Eastern Xian region on the Island of Darkness, so I refused to carry out the mission. Musha said, It's because you refused the mission that you are safe. Now you can only do as the Lord says. Pass the message to the headquarters. I believe they will make a decision. Kun Nan said to Mu Sha. His attitude was very good. It wasn't the first time he met Mu Sha, and they had some friendship. Okay, I almost got into big trouble. I Mu Sha know about Lord Golden Phoenix. I didn't expect to see Lord Golden Phoenix under such circumstances. Mu Sha said with a bitter smile. Kun Nan then left the Hall of Assassins. He knew that as long as Wu Ling concubine's name reached the Hall of Assassins, this matter would come to an end. You bastards, come over here. Mu Sha shouted at the blacksmith, Sister Luo, and another man who were standing at the side. GL Starter, no need to ask. I'm the one who informed Night Sorrow. We know about his growth, and he has done nothing wrong. Besides, he often treats me to drinks, so I don't want to see him get killed. The blacksmith kicked off his beast-skin shoes and walked a few steps away. Then you know about the situation. Why didn't you say anything? We can communicate with the headquarters and ask them to give up the mission. There's nothing wrong with that. If Lord Golden Phoenix is angry, the consequences will be uncontrollable. Mu Sha glared at the blacksmith and said, Why are you glaring at me? I'm just a blacksmith. I can do whatever I want. Tell the higher-ups to punish me? Do assassins have no principles? The blacksmith looked at Mu Sha and said, Bastard, luckily you're the one who informed us. Otherwise, if something happened, we wouldn't be able to escape. Lord Golden Phoenix. She's a big shot who has killed countless venerables. We're just ants in front of her. Mu Sha said with some emotion. Is she very famous? The other middle-aged man asked. She's very strong. You can say that she's the pride of the Eastern Xian region. Although I'm not from the Eastern Xian region, I still admire her. Even the top members of our assassin hall have been defeated by her. Many years ago, she also defeated the high-level venerables of the other regions in the domain war and established herself as an invincible venerable. She also protected the peace of the Eastern Xian region, said Mu Sha. According to what you said, she's not just talking about going to the 9 regions and 18 states to destroy our Hall of Assassins. Sister Luo said with some surprise. Isn't that nonsense? She doesn't have the confidence to destroy our reputation. We'll know when the news comes. The headquarters will definitely give in. Mu Sha said with a bitter smile. Chapter 439. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. That's right. We've really gone too far this time. Some people are taboo. Our assassination hall doesn't have the upper hand when it comes to individual battle prowess. We're even worse off when it comes to the power behind us. Mu Sha opened his mouth and said, That's right, Mu Sha said. They even accepted the mission to kill a child. I wonder which brainless person decided to accept the mission. The blacksmith snorted coldly because he was very dissatisfied. Blacksmith, I still don't understand. What does that little guy have to do with you? Mu Sha was a little puzzled. How did blacksmith get involved in this matter? We've seen him twice. We've been looking for materials to forge the sky-piercing spear for many years, and the blacksmith only gave him 12 spears. Sir, do you think the blacksmith likes him? Sister Luo glanced at the blacksmith and asked. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao, say, www.taichuexis.com, blacksmith, I won't argue with you this time. But if something like this happens again in the future, I'll definitely teach you a lesson. Isn't it better to discuss things with everyone? The problem has to be solved from the root. Can you solve the problem by leaking information? Find someone to fix this place, you bastard. Mu Sha glared at the blacksmith again, then left in a flash. He planned to personally report this matter to the headquarters. That damn fatty, at least he's done something this time, the blacksmith said as he looked in the direction that Mu Sha had left. Big brother, the one with the bounty on his head is the child you sent the sky-piercing spear to? Another middle-aged man asked. Love go little, say, big brother, I didn't make a mistake. Back then, he was just a little fellow who had just entered the second order. What about now? Second grade void inquiry stage. Ha! The blacksmith's face was filled with pride. Second grade of the void inquiry stage? I remember it was only 2 years ago when we first met him, right? Sister Luo's eyes were filled with shock. That's right. He's definitely a good seedling for our Eastern Xian region. So, even if we have to violate the rules, we can't let people from other regions kill him. The blacksmith nodded. Alright. At that time, I was dissatisfied with Big Brother giving away the sky-piercing spear. However, after killing the evil flood dragon, the sky-piercing spear was no longer important to us. The middle-aged man looked at the blacksmith and said, Yes, each of us only needs 2 sky-piercing spears to protect ourselves. Why do we need so many? Come, there's still a jar of good wine here. Let's drink it, and then find someone to repair this place. I have to say, the master of Tianji Tower is really awesome. The blacksmith took out a jar of Qingluo leopard bone wine given to him by Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, who was practicing his spear arts in the mansion, suddenly stopped. This was because he saw Wu Ling Fei, who was wearing a golden mask, a tight skirt, and a gauze robe. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao, say, www.taichuexis.com, Auntie Fei, why are you here? Night Sorrow greeted her. Bring me in. Wu Ling Fei raised her chin and pointed at Night Sorrow's loft. Night Sorrow brought Wu Ling Fei into the study room that he rarely entered. Then, he took out a tea set and brewed a pot of tea for Wu Ling Fei. Your mansion is not bad. The scenery and style are all okay, Wu Lingfei said after taking off her mask and taking a sip of tea. There are extra lofts here. Auntie Fei can live and cultivate here, Night Sorrow said. Thinking about it, Auntie Fei is really not as good as you. Because in Dongxian City, I can only go to the Tianji Tower and the City Lord's mansion. I don't have a place to stay. Wu Lingfei suddenly sighed. Auntie Fei, actually, a home is only a place where there are relatives. A home is not an empty house. I will tidy up the innermost and quiet loft for you in a moment, Yishang said. After the three mansions were connected, the craftsman built a viewing tower in the innermost part of the mansion on the left, which was a little far from Night Sorrow's. The loft was shrouded in green bamboo, and the scenery and style were not bad. Okay, but Auntie Fei likes to be quiet. Don't let others near that place. Also, when Auntie Fei cultivates, sometimes it will cause the laws to vibrate and hurt people. Wu Lingfei nodded after thinking for a while. Then I will take Auntie Fei there. Night Sorrow stood up and said. Night Sorrow took Wu Lingfei to the viewing tower and helped her settle down. There's one more thing. Your girlfriend's water attribute isn't normal. She has the sky blue water and the black profound water. She has the sky blue water attribute. This kind of extreme water attribute is very rare. It can even be said that it won't be suppressed by 4 high-level attributes. She might not have noticed it yet. Wu Lingfei said. She was referring to Sikong Chuyu. Auntie Fei, you know that I don't know much about these things. When I have time, I will ask Chuyu to come and ask Auntie Fei for advice. Night Sorrow said, a little embarrassed. Indeed, telling you this is a waste of time. Let her come over at night. Auntie Fei will tell her that this kind of potential is very rare and cannot be buried. Wu Lingfei said with a smile. She suddenly felt that she had treated Night Sorrow as a cultivator for many years. In fact, Night Sorrow was just a child. It could be said that he was a cultivation newbie. Why did Auntie Fei come to Dongxian City? Is there any progress in breaking through? Night Sorrow asked. 0 positive. Version B** release, almost there, but there is no rush. Who knows, maybe a flash of inspiration will be enough. Why did you come? You have a bounty on your head. How can Auntie Fei not come and take a look? Wu Lingfei said. They won't send a venerable to kill me. Other ranks, even late 5th order, I still have a chance to escape. Night Sorrow said. Auntie Fei has already dealt with this matter. The Eastern Xian region branch of the Assassination Hall will report to the higher-ups and resolve this matter. However, there is a time difference. In other words, by the time they report, the assassins might have already been dispatched. Wu Lingfei said. In fact, this was the main reason why she had stayed in Night Sorrow's residence. I've made Auntie Fei worry again. Night Sorrow said with a smile. It's fine. You go do your thing. Just let your girlfriend come and find Auntie Fei. Wu Lingfei nodded at Night Sorrow. When Night Sorrow arrived at Sikong Chuyu's pavilion, he saw Sikong Chuyu and Yang Lei sitting together, studying something. The two women didn't notice Night Sorrow's arrival and continued to read. Night Sorrow walked over and saw what the two women were reading. It was the harmony cultivation technique he had obtained while completing a mission. Back then, Night Sorrow had obtained the harmony cultivation technique after killing 2 women who plucked yin to supplement yang. At that time, he had given it to Yang Lei. You're reading this too? Night Sorrow asked after sitting down. Why did you sneak in here? Yang Lei embarrassedly put the ancient book into her storage ring. I swaggered in. You two were too engrossed and didn't see me. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Night Sorrow, don't think too much. This ancient book is good for the 3 of us. Back then, those 2 women walked the crooked path. Yang Lei explained with a red face. Chapter 440. Genius Remembers Love in 1 second/small? We provide you with interesting novels to read. After asking Sikong Chuyu to meet Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow informed everyone in the mansion that the small bamboo forest and the viewing tower at the northwest corner of the mansion were forbidden from entering. Even though everyone did not understand why Night Sorrow would give such a notice, they knew that there was a reason behind it. After informing everyone, Night Sorrow returned to his secret cultivation room. He took out the ice spirit blood essence and soul crystals and began to cultivate. In the next few days, Yishan steadily increased his cultivation. He didn't know that a great storm had occurred in Dongxian City. No one had ever dared to provoke the Deathly Hall, but now, someone had destroyed their facade. This was a strange story. Soon after, a few foolish cultivators who did not know what was going on went to the entrance of the assassination hall and pointed at them. In the end, they ended up in a miserable state. They were directly crippled and hung in front of the pavilion that was being renovated. This also let all the cultivators know that no matter what the assassination hall had experienced, they still could not be provoked casually. Night Sorrow's cultivation base increased at a relatively slow pace even though he used the spiritual origin liquid. It was because the amount of energy needed to advance to the void inquiry stage was really too much. On this day, after finishing dinner and everyone went to cultivate, Night Sorrow went to the small training ground in front of the main building to practice his spear techniques. After cultivating for a while, just as Night Sorrow was about to go to the secret cultivation room to cultivate his foundation, he felt a chill on his body. He had a feeling that he was being stared at by a poisonous snake. Turning his head to look, Night Sorrow saw a masked man in the shadow of the garden. At this moment, the masked man who knew that Night Sorrow had discovered him walked out from the shadow. Without saying anything, he shook his arm and brandished his sword, sending out a ray of sword light towards Night Sorrow. Looking at the 4-chi-long sword light flying towards him, Night Sorrow took a step diagonally and dashed forward. He shook his reincarnation spear and executed the 7 stars dazzling moon spear. The 5 spears merged into one and pierced towards the masked man. Seeing Night Sorrow attack, the masked man's body flashed and he continued to attack Night Sorrow with his sword. The position of his sword was very tricky. It was aimed at Night Sorrow's ribs, which would be the heart. He didn't fight head-on, nor did he fight head-on. Instead, he pursued a one-hit kill. Night Sorrow immediately understood what was going on with this masked man. He was an assassin on a mission. Although he could not see through his opponent's cultivation base, Night Sorrow was not afraid. This was the kind of battle he wanted. Only a battle of life and death like this could increase his combat power and stimulate his potential. His opponent's attacks were tricky. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear was the opposite of his opponent's. This was also Night Sorrow's confidence in the strength of his attacks. The masked man's dodging and attacking speed were both very fast. He did not fight Night Sorrow head-on and instead wandered around looking for Night Sorrow's flaws. However, Night Sorrow's current spear art was not perfect, but it was very skillful. With the addition of the soaring dragon steps, there were no flaws. After circling around a few times, the masked man discovered that Night Sorrow's defense was unbreakable. He changed his approach and drew a semicircle with his sword before thrusting forward. Since he could not find any flaws in Night Sorrow's defense, he planned to create a flaw for Night Sorrow himself. He and Night Sorrow did not notice that at this moment, at the top of the main building where Night Sorrow lived, Wu Lingfei, who was wearing a white dress, was standing in the air with her hands behind her back. She was watching the battle between Night Sorrow and the masked man. Ding! With a crisp sound, Night Sorrow was pushed back. His opponent's cultivation base was much higher than his, and his true chi was much more abundant. On the other hand, the masked man's energy was like a needle, piercing towards Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear. Only when the reincarnation spear was more than halfway through, did Night Sorrow's true chi dissipated. After Night Sorrow was pushed back, his opponent also felt uncomfortable. Night Sorrow's spiraling energy penetrated into his opponent's sword. After being pushed back, Night Sorrow stomped his feet and dashed forward. His true chi needed time to slow down and buffer. However, Night Sorrow had the energy of the Myriad Tao treasure book. When he dashed forward, the energy in his body followed along. Seeing Night Sorrow dashing towards him, the masked man was stunned for a moment. Then he casually waved his sword towards Night Sorrow. Even though he lost to Night Sorrow in terms of energy exertion, he understood that Night Sorrow would not have it easy either. After all, his cultivation base was 4 levels higher than Night Sorrow's. He was already at the 5th level of the Void Inquiry stage. Buzz their weapons clashed. Night Sorrow's reincarnation spear released a strong vibration force. After that, the two of them separated again. This time, Night Sorrow gained the upper hand. The energy of his myriad Dao treasure book and the strength of his body surpassed the strength of the true Qi that the masked man hurriedly gathered. In addition, the vibration force also dispersed the impact of his opponent's energy exertion technique. After gaining the upper hand in one move, Night Sorrow swung his reincarnation spear and chased after his opponent. After every clash, his opponent's true Qi needed a buffer. Even though the buffer time was very short, Night Sorrow did not need it. His true Qi and the energy of the myriad Dao treasure book alternately attacked. In terms of speed, he was much faster than his opponent. Seeing Night Sorrow dashing towards him again, the masked man let out a low roar. He stomped his feet and his body moved swiftly. Since he could not gain the upper hand in a head-on clash, he began to move around. At this moment, Night Sorrow was chasing after the masked man. However, Night Sorrow's speed was still slower than his opponent's. Night Sorrow also used the energy of the myriad Dao treasure book to increase his speed. However, the masked man's movement technique was very agile. He could not stop him. "I will kill you another day. Your life is mine." When he saw Hou Jian and the others, as well as the Bloodstrike guards, rushing towards the training ground, the masked man's feet trembled and his body soared into the air. "If you want to fight, I can watch. However, you can't run." Wu Lingfei waved her arm and a large energy hand grabbed the masked man. 9. Look at the authentic version. Chapter above. Who are you? How dare you interfere with the matters of the assassination hall? You are courting death. The masked man roared at Wu Lingfei. Even your hall master would not speak to me like this. Killing you here will only dirty the mansion. Go outside and die. Wu Lingfei snorted and the energy hand flew towards the sky outside the mansion. When it reached the outside, the energy hand squeezed and the masked man turned into a bloody mist. Then, a storage ring flew back to the mansion and fell in front of Night Sorrow. Then Wu Lingfei's figure disappeared. At this time, Hou Jian and the others arrived at Night Sorrow's side. They only saw the energy hand and did not see Wu Lingfei. "Captain, what happened?" Hou Jian asked when he arrived at Night Sorrow's side. "An assassin came to kill me, but he was killed," Night Sorrow said as he held the storage ring. "Someone came to kill you? Are they tired of living?" "Captain, do you have any clues?" "Let's go and destroy them," Xue Ling said angrily. "This is really unfair. Someone placed a bounty on the assassination hall. I can only be careful. It won't be easy to completely destroy them," Night Sorrow said. "The assassination hall? A few days ago, the assassination hall's front was destroyed. How dare they do this now?" Hou Jian said. "The assassination hall's front was destroyed? Who could be so cruel?" Nan Liu asked. "I don't know." The assassination hall did not respond. However, a few unlucky people who mocked the assassination hall were killed, Lei Bao said. Chapter 441. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by shao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. When did this happen? Night Sorrow asked as he glanced at the loft where Wu Lingfei was resting. Baidu search AI go female sign shao, say, www.taichuexis. Hou Jian and Lei Bao told him what they knew. After listening to Hou Jian and Lei Bao, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and understood that this was probably Wu Lingfei's doing. "Captain, you still have time to think about this? The assassin hall will assassinate you 3 times, each time more ruthless than the last. If they fail 3 times, they will give up. You have to think about the next 2 attempts," Hou Jian said anxiously. "It's fine. Let them come and kill me. This is also a test for me. You guys go rest." Night Sorrow said to the anxious Hou Jian and the others. Then he nodded at Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, who looked somewhat uneasy. Love go shao shura, w. Chu. After reminding Night Sorrow to be careful, Hou Jian and the others and the Bloodstrike guards went back to rest and cultivate. Night Sorrow, Yang Lei, and Sikong Chuyu went to the living room of the main building. 13. Are you okay? Yang Lei asked. "I'm fine. That guy can't kill me. Auntie Faye crushed him to death when he tried to escape, Night Sorrow said. Don't go out so often. After all, the risk is still very high, Sikong Chu said. Chuyu, do you think I should hide and not go out just because someone wants to kill me? I want to see if they can kill me. I also want to see if I can withstand their assassination attempts, Night Sorrow said. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu didn't say anything. They knew that this was Night Sorrow's personality. If they wanted Night Sorrow to be a coward, they might as well kill Night Sorrow. Chuyu, what did Auntie Faye say about your situation? Night Sorrow changed the topic. Auntie Faye gave me some pointers on the direction of my cultivation. The effects are very strong. Although I have not yet stimulated the sky blue water attribute, it is definitely not a problem. In the past, I always felt that I could not exert my strength. Now, I understand that what I have cultivated and grasped is only the tip of the iceberg of my potential, Sikong Chuyu said. That's good. Attributes are also an important factor in determining success, Night Sorrow said. According to the current progress, I should be able to activate it very soon. Sikong Chuyu was indeed very happy. This was because in the history of her family, the sky blue water attribute had appeared. That ancestor who had the sky blue water had dominated an era. After that, Night Sorrow sent the two girls to rest. When Night Sorrow wanted to go to Sikong Chuyu's room, he was kicked out. Sikong Chuyu and Yang Lei were still cultivating the fusion technique. They had not completely succeeded. After leaving Sikong Chuyu's room, Night Sorrow went to Wu Lingfei's room. Standing in front of the room, Night Sorrow thought about it and felt that it was the same whether he went in or not. The assassination hall should be Wu Lingfei's doing. You're here. Come in. Wu Lingfei's voice reached Night Sorrow's ears. Night Sorrow turned around and walked into the room. In the living room of the room, Night Sorrow saw Wu Lingfei sitting quietly. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao, say, www.taichuxis. Commandicavi. Original T first XD Aunt Fei. After entering the living room, Night Sorrow greeted her. Have a seat. Aunt Fei usually sits quietly, so there is no tea for you. Wu Ling concubine pointed to the chair across from her. Night Sorrow smiled and took out a tea set. He went out of the attic to fetch some water and brewed a pot of tea. Aunt Fei, were you the one who tore down the Deathly Hall? After brewing the tea, Yi Shang hesitated for a moment before asking the question in his heart. They wanted to kill you. I was angry, so I tore down the front of the assassination hall. I didn't kill them because one of them told you. I didn't want to kill innocent people, said Wu Lingfei. Auntie Fei, this won't cause any trouble, right? Just like Tianji Tower, the Deathly Hall is a force that belongs to the 9 realms and 18 states, Night Sorrow said worriedly. So what? Aunt Fei said that if I don't let the Hall of Extermination gain a foothold in the eastern Xian region, they will have to scram, said Wu Lingfei. Many thanks, Aunt Fei. Night Sorrow took the teapot and brewed a pot of tea for Wu Lingfei. Don't be so polite with Aunt Fei. You helped Aunt Fei even more, said Wu Lingfei as she took the teacup. Then I won't be so polite with Aunt Fei in the future, said Night Sorrow. Aunt Fei gave the Hall of Extermination a warning. They will revoke the bounty on you. After all, your status in Tianji Tower and the City Lord's mansion makes it difficult to assassinate you, said Wu Lingfei. Maybe they don't know about this. Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. Yes. In the 9 realms and 18 states, the Royal City, City Lord's mansion, and Tianji Tower are places that others cannot easily reach out and touch. Therefore, the Hall of Extermination doesn't know about your situation in Tianji Tower and the City Lord's mansion. It's not that they can't find out, but they didn't investigate because they don't want to offend the City Lord's mansion and Tianji Tower, said Wu Lingfei as she took a sip of tea. So they won't accept this mission? Asked Night Sorrow. How should I put it? That's not it. The Assassin Hall has 2 types of rewards. One is an open reward, and the other is a dark reward. The assassination this time was an open reward, which means that the Assassin Hall gave the mission directly to the Assassin Hall. The other type is a dark reward, which means that the Assassin Hall only receives a third of the reward. The Assassin Hall doesn't care who receives the mission, said Wu Lingfei. I understand. In other words, even if the Hall of Extermination doesn't accept my bounty, they can still assassinate me in the form of dark red. Night Sorrow understood what Wu Lingfei meant. Even if she could influence the open reward, the Hall of Extermination still had the possibility of dark red. So this time, Aunt Fei wants the Hall of Extermination to send over the information of the person who issued the mission. Otherwise, we will remove the Hall of Extermination from the Eastern Xian region, said Wu Lingfei. Is that appropriate? Aunt Fei, please don't cause any trouble because of me. Night Sorrow was a little worried because Wu Lingfei was challenging the Hall of Extermination. Don't worry. Aunt Fei knows what to do. This is our territory. Why would we need to care about other people's opinions in our territory? Wu Lingfei smiled confidently. All right. I also need to learn this kind of domineering aura from Aunt Fei, said Night Sorrow looking at Wu Lingfei. Then Aunt Fei will tell you. In this world, the strong are respected. Principles and rules are just empty words. The strong fist is the true reason. Rules are made by the strong and are also broken by the strong. Whoever has the strength is the boss, said Wu Lingfei. I will do my best. Night Sorrow nodded. Aunt Fei believes that you can do it. It's just a matter of time. Aunt Fei also hopes that the Eastern Xian region will have an expert rise. One person really can't bear it alone. If something happens to Aunt Fei, the Eastern Xian region will fall to the point where it will be trampled by other regions. Many forces will go to other regions to fight for territory when they don't have much space to develop in their own region. Killing will be happening all the time, said Wu Lingfei with a sigh. There is such a thing? I really didn't know about it, said Night Sorrow. Chapter 442. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go/Little? I'll provide you with a wonderful novel to read. Night Sorrow's heart was greatly shaken. He hadn't expected the Three Origin region to be occupied by the Qingtian region and become a subsidiary region. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, they attacked our Eastern Xian region before. At that time, the Qingtian region joined forces with the Taiyue region to wage a war on our Eastern Xian region. We lost 5 supremacies in that battle, but Auntie Fei killed even more and defeated the 2 region lords. The price was that Auntie Fei was also heavily injured. This is also the reason why Auntie Fei is cultivating in the Eastern Snow Mountain. Although it's called cultivation, most of the time, it's to heal. Wu Lingfei sighed. Is Auntie Fei all right now? Night Sorrow asked. You helped Auntie Fei obtain so many ice spirit blood essences. The problem has long been solved. What Auntie Fei should do now is to kill those 2 shameless bastards from the Qingtian region and Taiyue region. They shouldn't be able to recover as quickly as Auntie Fei, Wu Lingfei said with narrowed eyes. Auntie Fei, that's a bit risky. But with my current cultivation I can't help much, Night Sorrow said in a low voice. There's no need to rush. After learning from the water attribute destiny stone you gave me, Auntie Fei has a better grasp of things. With this grasp, I can pursue a higher level. There's no need to rush to deal with them, Wu Lingfei said. Auntie Fei, do you need the life crystals? They're not very useful to me, Night Sorrow said. Knowing that the Sikong Chuyu's attribute path was the sky blue water attribute, Night Sorrow didn't have much use for the life crystals. All right. Auntie Fei doesn't need to be polite with you. Wu Lingfei nodded. Night Sorrow took out half of the life crystals and piled them up in the room. So many. Wu Lingfei was a bit dumbfounded at the sight of so many life crystals. These were all left behind by the life saintess who wanted to possess me, Night Sorrow said. Then Auntie Concubine will stay. Previously, Auntie Concubine didn't want to use the life crystals, so she planned to rely on herself to find the bottleneck. Now, even if I waste a little bit, I can absorb the weak power of law in the life crystals and break through. Wu Lingfei said excitedly. Here's more life essence. Night Sorrow took out 2 more jade bottles and gave them to Wu Lingfei. Night Sorrow, half of Auntie Fei's future achievements come from you. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said, Auntie Fei's words are too serious. Then Auntie Fei should cultivate first. I will go back and cultivate. Night Sorrow said. Also, go to the City Lord's mansion and inform Elder Kuan Nan that he has something to report to your mansion. As for Tianji Tower, you can also inform Yin Shui or Ho Yuan, Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. I will do it tomorrow. Night Sorrow got up and nodded. Also, don't leave the mansion for the time being. After all, the matter with Death Hall hasn't been settled yet. Wu Lingfei said. Night Sorrow nodded and left Wu Lingfei's place to cultivate. Returning to his secret cultivation room, he took out the soul crystals and ice spirit blood essence and started cultivating. Night Sorrow didn't care about the assassination attempt from Death Hall. Not to mention early Fifth Order, even mid-Fifth Order, Night Sorrow had the strength to fight. Although Night Sorrow couldn't win against late Fifth Order, he could still escape. As for Venerables, the chances of them coming after him were slim. Even if they came, they wouldn't be able to get past Wu Lingfei. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow went to the City Lord's mansion and Tianji Tower to tell Kuan Nan and Yin Shui about Wu Lingfei's situation in his mansion. After walking around and returning to his residence, Night Sorrow played with Tianyu and the silver fox cub for a while before continuing to cultivate. His true qi cultivation was still far from advancing, but his myriad Daos tome cultivation wasn't far from the 8th level of the consolidation realm. While Yi Shang was cultivating, Mu Sha was reporting the situation to an old man in a secluded courtyard in the sky-bearing city of the sky-bearing region. Golden Phoenix? Something is wrong. Come with me to report this to the other elders and vice hall masters, the old man said solemnly after listening to Mu Sha's report. Then, under the guidance of the white-robed old man, the two went through a few streets and 2 secret passages. After going through several checks, they entered a small underground palace. Elder Zhan, what's going on? A middle-aged man in a black robe asked. Second Elder, Mu Sha has returned from the eastern Xian region. He has something to report to the headquarters, so I brought him here. The situation is very serious, so it's best to report it to the hall master and vice hall master, Zhan Yuqing said. She was the elder who brought Mu Sha here. The hall master is in seclusion. Let's invite the vice hall master. The middle-aged man in the black robe said. He was the second elder of the assassination hall, Mu Yuanting. Then, under Mu Yuanting's summons, a few old men and a woman in a white robe and a butterfly mask gathered in the underground palace. When the woman appeared, everyone bowed to greet her. She was the vice hall master of the assassination hall, Swallowtail Butterfly. This was her code name, and she was currently in charge of everything in the assassination hall. Then, Mu Sha reported about the destruction of the Eastern Xian region branch. Hearing that, Swallowtail Butterfly, who was in a white robe, emitted a murderous aura. The murderous aura caused everyone's expression to change drastically. Go on. Swallowtail Butterfly's voice was emotionless. The person who did this is the branch master of the Tianji Tower in the Eastern Xian region. She asked me to bring her name to the headquarters, and also asked them to give her the information of the person who killed Night Sorrow. Mu Sha bowed and said, How audacious! She's really arrogant. She dared to leave her name after destroying our branch. This is a slap to the face of our assassination hall. How can a branch master of the Tianji Tower be so arrogant? What's her name? Swallowtail Butterfly stood up and said, In the 9 regions and 18 states, the assassination hall was not as powerful as the royal city of each region. First of all, the royal city of each region was the local tyrant. They had been operating for countless years. Unless there was a regional war, other forces would not be able to touch the royal city. The royal city's forces were undoubtedly powerful. Almost all the venerables of each region would be under the control of the city lord's office. Other than the royal city's forces, only the Tianji Tower was powerful. However, the Tianji Tower would not provoke the assassination hall for no reason. The assassination hall had been around for countless years. The quantity and quality of the assassins under their command were indisputable. If the Tianji Tower made things difficult for the assassination hall, the assassination hall would not be able to withstand it. However, if the assassination hall retaliated, the Tianji Tower would not have an easy time either. This was something everyone knew. Under such circumstances, The destruction of the Assassination Hall's branch was a big deal. This was a slap to the face, and it was also a declaration of war. That's right. Even the royal city's forces have to give face to the Assassination Hall. Is a branch master of the Tianji Tower going to start a war? An old man said. This old man was the great elder of the Assassination Hall, Wu Tianhe. Chapter 443. Genius Remembers Love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. What did you say? Her name is Golden Phoenix? Wu Tianhe stood up in shock. Yes, she said her name is Golden Phoenix. If we don't give her an explanation, she will travel all over the 9 regions and 18 states and wipe out all of our branches, Mu Sha said. Silence. The hall was dead silent. This mission is really... Wu Tianhe sighed. Second Elder, bring us all the details of this mission. Let's analyze it and see what's going on, Swallowtail Butterfly said. If it's true, then we've really gotten ourselves into big trouble. If others say that, then it's just bullshit or a threat, but Lord Golden Phoenix's words are absolutely true. If we don't appease her anger, then our branch of the Assassination Hall will definitely suffer, said Wu Tianhe. I understand. We can only accept our bad luck for provoking her. If she gets angry, the entire Eastern Xian region will become a forbidden area for our Assassin Hall, said the snow-tailed butterfly. There was anger in her voice, but she did not explode. After a while, Zhang Yuqing came with a document. The next chieftain is anonymous. But according to our investigation, he's Jiyu Hao from the Jiyu clan. The Jiyu clan is digging a hole for us. Can't they kill someone? Wu Tianhe said angrily. Digging a hole for us? Then we won't hold back. Second Elder, you and Mu Sha go to the Eastern Xian region and deal with this matter. Since the Jiyu clan brought this trouble to us, we'll return the favor. We can't afford to offend Lord Golden Phoenix, so let them. Also, investigate everything about Night Sorrow. Even if he doesn't have any scars, find out everything about him, Swallowtail Butterfly said coldly. There's also some news. The Guardian Elder of the Eastern Xian City has also found me and said that Night Sorrow is from the City Lord Mansion, Mu Sha said. This hole is really deep. Investigate. Investigate both sides. We must get to the bottom of this, Swallowtail Butterfly ordered again. On Night Sorrow's side, he cultivated steadily every day. His cultivation of the Myriad Dao Tome had smoothly entered level 8 of the Consolidation Realm. His soul power had also improved significantly. Although it was still a long way from liquefying, it was still several times stronger than when he had just opened up his deity C. Right now, there was no one to practice with Night Sorrow. Ho Jian and the others weren't willing, and neither were the members of the Bloodstrike Guard. Night Sorrow only focused on his spear arts and footwork. On the other hand, Tianyu and Silver Fox's cultivation improved very quickly. Tianyu's cultivation had already entered the 4th order, level 9, and Silver Fox's cultivation had reached the 3rd order. Ho Jian and the others, in addition to cultivating their true qi every day, would also be sparring. They would also help Yang Lei instruct the disciples under her sect in their cultivation. Qin Zhen was very hardworking in his cultivation. He spent almost all of his time in cultivation. Usually, when he saw him, he was also practicing his swordsmanship. A few days later, Silver Snow arrived at Night Sorrow's residence. Night Sorrow brought him to the main building's living room and served him tea. It's like this. The people from the Assassination Hall's headquarters are here. They want to see the K-Master. Night Sorrow, can you inform the K-Master? Silver Snow asked. I'm here. At that moment, Wu Lingfei, who was wearing a golden mask, entered the living room. Greetings, Your Excellency. Silver Snow stood up and cupped his hands in greeting. I don't want to see them. Go tell them that they must hand over the information of the next K-Master. If they can't, then I'll keep my word. Wu Lingfei sat down and said, the information is here. They have already expressed their apologies and hope that Your Excellency can forgive their mistake. Love go, little say. At the same time, he placed a few pieces of paper on the tea table in front of Wu Lingfei. Go back and tell them that this matter is over. Also, tell them that Night Sorrow is a core member of the Tianji Tower's headquarters. Also, tell them whether they want to accept the reward or not. Also, tell them that Night Sorrow is still a member of the City Lord's mansion. Wu Lingfei said. I'll do it right away. Silver Snow stood up and said, Then go. Wu Lingfei waved her hand. Night Sorrow sent Silver Snow out of Qingxin Cottage. At the same time, he asked about the situation at Broken Cloud Mountain. It's still the same. Our advantage has been taken away. Dark spiritual corpses often attack together at the spatial passage. They come out from inside and sneak attack one person. It's very difficult to deal with them, so our venerables can't guard the spatial passage. Silver Snow explained the situation to Night Sorrow. If we don't guard the spatial passage, won't we return to the same situation as before? Night Sorrow said with a frown. Yes, there's nothing we can do about it. The nature of the spatial passage is too disgusting. Dark spiritual corpses also appear at the Island of Darkness. However, the situation there is still manageable. They can't run back once they come out, so as long as they appear, they will be killed. Silver Snow was helpless. The dark creatures in the death space were not only strong in terms of quality, but also in terms of quantity. I understand. I'll talk to Aunt Fei later and see if there's any way. Night Sorrow nodded to Silver Snow. Silver Snow was stunned for a moment, then left. He was stunned because of the way Night Sorrow addressed him. After leaving, Silver Snow knew that Night Sorrow's position in Wu Lingfei's eyes had already surpassed the higher-ups of Tianji Tower. First of all, her attitude towards him was different. After returning to the mansion, Night Sorrow sat opposite Wu Lingfei. Wu Lingfei was looking at the information sent by the Assassination Hall. Take a look. It's someone from the Qingtian Domain's Jiyu family. Wu Lingfei threw the information in front of Night Sorrow. After taking a look at the information, Yishang calmed himself down and let out a sigh of relief. Just as he had expected, it really was someone from Jiyu's family. Moreover, it was that shameless Jiyu Hao who wanted to marry into the Sikong family. What do you think? Wu Lingfei took a sip of tea and asked. Nothing. With or without this bounty mission, I'm not done with the Jiyu family. Father Gu, who adopted me, had his arm chopped off by a disciple of the Jiyu family. I won't give up. Night Sorrow said. Then bear with it. The Eastern Xian domain is chaotic. You have to improve your strength in this situation. Anyway, the Jiyu family is there. They can't run away. Wu Lingfei said. Don't worry, Aunt Fei. I'm not an impulsive person. I won't be rash before I'm strong enough. Night Sorrow folded the information and put it away. But, in fact, you're not the only one who has a grudge against them. When the Qingtian domain and Taiyue domain joined forces to attack our Eastern Xian domain, the Qingtian domain was the main force. Jiyu family also had a part in it. Therefore, you're not the only one who wants to deal with them. I also want to deal with them. Wu Lingfei stood up and said, I know. So, whether it's for public or private reasons, I want to deal with the Jiyu family. Night Sorrow said. First published in AA. Chapter 444. Geniuses Remember Love in 1 Second Go? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Yes, I would like to know what you think, Aunt Fei, Night Sorrow said. In the past, Night Sorrow would have thought that Wu Lingfei's opinion was a good way to solve the problem. Now, however, he knew that Wu Lingfei's opinion could determine the direction of the situation. Aunt Fei doesn't want to take action yet. This is a training exercise for the Eastern Xian region. You might think it's cruel, but it's not good to rely on one person to solve everything. The Eastern Xian region can't rely on one person. Perhaps some experiences will allow a cultivator to grow, Wu Lingfei said. I understand what Aunt Fei means. I plan to take them to participate in the battle. Everyone needs to train, Night Sorrow said. Go if you want to, but be careful. A battle isn't just a battle of the body. Smart people fight with their brains. Bravery doesn't equate to recklessness, Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Don't worry, Aunt Fei. I'm not stupid. Night Sorrow nodded. Go. It's easier for your girlfriend to stimulate the attributes of the sky blue water after training. Wu Lingfei glanced at Sikong Chiyu's loft and left. After a night of cultivation, Night Sorrow got up and gathered the Blood Strike Guards, Ho Jian, and the others. The battle at Broken Cloud Mountain of Star Cloud Sect is still very intense. I plan to take everyone there to fight. We can contribute to the Eastern Xian region and improve our cultivation through actual combat. What do you all think? Night Sorrow said. We'll follow Captain's orders, the Blood Strike Guards shouted. We don't have any problems either, Ho Jian and the others replied loudly. How about this? Xueling, you'll first integrate Ho Qingjin into the Blood-Robed Guard. Let him get used to the rhythm of battle. Ho Jian, you'll integrate Qingjie into the Empyrean Terminus Tower team. Night Sorrow made arrangements for Ho Qingjie and Qin Zhen. Yes. Xueling bowed. The members of the Blood Strike Guard were all arrogant. If an ordinary person had wanted to join them, they would have definitely rejected them. However, Qin Zhen's hard work in cultivation and his actual combat prowess had won their approval, so they had long since gotten along well with him. That's good. Get ready. We'll set off in half a cup of tea's time. Night Sorrow dismissed the assembled crowd. On the other side, Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu also packed up and brought some daily necessities. Then, the group gathered together again. Get on your mounts and set off. Night Sorrow summoned Tianyu and got on Tianyu's back with Silver Fox. They then flew towards the teleportation circle. Night Sorrow paid the spiritual stones and let the people behind him teleport to Nebula Sect in several batches. Then he put away Tianyu and Silver Fox, followed by Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, who had also put away their mounts, and entered the teleportation circle to Nebula Sect. Using the teleportation circle, one could not recall their mounts, but they had to pay spiritual stones. Therefore, no one would be stupid enough to not recall their mounts into the beast-taming space and spend more spiritual stones. After exiting the teleportation circle, Night Sorrow saw a group of people waiting for him. They had all released their mounts and were ready to set off. Waving his arm, Night Sorrow led the group and flew towards Broken Cloud Mountain. Ho Jian, we're Tianji Tower's team. Pay more attention, Night Sorrow said to Ho Jian. Now, the team under Tianji Tower had increased again. Night Sorrow, Yang Lei, Sikong Chuyu, Ho Jian, Ho Qingjie, Lei Bao, Lei Zheng and Nan Liyue. There were now 8 of them. Also, because they had been living together with the 30 members of the Blood Strike Guard, there was no need to hide their identities. There was no point in doing so. The most important reason was that the brothers of the Blood Strike Guard were absolutely reliable. As for Qin Zhen, he was currently not qualified to join Tianji Tower. Night Sorrow could only let him join the Blood Strike Guard. Qin Zhen, your mount is not bad, Xueling said as he looked at Qin Zhen's Tiger Eagle. Brother 13 gave it to me, Qin Zhen said. Qin Zhen had been cultivating with the members of the Blood Strike Guard during this period of time. He had become more talkative and his personality had changed. All right, Captain is really awesome. That black-feathered eagle was tamed right under our noses, Xueling said with some emotion. Don't worry. If there's a suitable one, I'll give it to you, Night Sorrow said. That's right. Captain's Tianyu is at the peak of the 4th rank. He's not an adult yet. Even if you catch a good mount, you don't need to change it, Xuefei said. No? Hurry up and get on O2. Night Sorrow reached out and touched Tianyu's neck. Of course it's good to have a mount with a high cultivation level. However, to me, Tianyu is not just a mount. He's a battle partner and a brother. No matter what his cultivation level is, I won't change him for the rest of my life. When I was in the Qi refinement stage, he fought with me. If it wasn't for him, I might have died a few times. Night Sorrow remembered very clearly that if it wasn't for Tianyu, he wouldn't have been able to climb up the cliff behind the bamboo forest peak. He would have died of hunger and thirst down there. During the battle with the Green Water Sect, if Tianyu hadn't been fast enough, he would have been killed by the people of the Green Water Sect. Night Sorrow had always remembered these things. We understand how you feel, Captain, Xueling said. My and Tianyu's situations are not suitable for you. If you have a good mount, you should change it. You can't say that changing mounts is unkind or unjust. You can let your old mounts retire or set them free. Those are all good choices. My 9th senior sister's mount is now in the Medicine Valley's Taishan Peak for retirement. Night Sorrow said. Time passed unknowingly as they hurried along while chatting. In the evening, the group of people arrived at the camp of the Xian Domain's human cultivators in Yunduan, Shandong. Night Sorrow didn't let Ho Jian and the others wear masks. This time, they weren't participating in the battle as members of Tianji Tower. After looking at the camp, Night Sorrow was stunned. He saw Gong Xian, some elite disciples of the Medicine Valley, and members of other sections. This made Night Sorrow realize that the 7 superpowers of the Eastern Xian Domain had come to participate in the battle against the dark creatures. 9th junior sister, 13, Chu, you're all here. Gong Xian greeted Night Sorrow, Yang Lei, and Sikong Chuyu. Eldest senior brother, 11th senior brother, Sister Lingfei, you're all here too, Night Sorrow said as he looked at Mo Qin and Chu Lingfei, who were beside Gong Xian. Yes, the situation here is more serious. Master wants me to bring people over to provide support, Gong Xian said. You guys go to your sects and say hello. Gather here tomorrow morning for the battle, Night Sorrow said to Ho Jian and the others. Ho Jian, Nenliue, Lei Bao, and the others bowed to Night Sorrow and went to their sections. They had to greet the elders of their sects when they saw them. Of course, Night Sorrow had to agree. After all, Night Sorrow was their captain. In the team, obeying orders was the most important thing. Chapter 445. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow is here? The masked Lan Yuxuan waved at Night Sorrow. Seniors are all here. Night Sorrow cupped his hands in greeting. Are you itching for a fight again? Qin Nan asked with a smile. Ha! Governor Qin must be joking. If there's a problem, we have to do our part, Night Sorrow said. Lei Ho brought Night Sorrow into the tent and asked about the assassination attempt on Night Sorrow. Lei Ho received the news from Yin Shui because a new patrol had come to participate in the battle. It's fine. This matter should be over, Night Sorrow said with a smile. You should be careful. This governor doesn't have time to go back. When I go back, I will look for them. If they dare to assassinate the people of the City Lord Mansion, then their assassination hall shouldn't stay in our Eastern Xin region, Qin Nan said coldly. This matter has already been dealt with. I've troubled Governor Qin. Night Sorrow cupped his hands and said to Qin Nan. Don't feel pressured. Today's battle is over. You just have to lead your men to battle tomorrow. As I said, be careful of sneak attacks. Qin Nan looked at the shoulder pads on Night Sorrow's shoulders. She was very familiar with them. Night Sorrow left a jar of wine for them and returned to the camp. The Blood Strike Guards had already set up their tents. In the middle were Night Sorrow, Yang Lei, and Sikong Chuyu's tents. The Qin Zhen and the Blood Strike Guards had already mixed together. This fellow's cultivation is rising really fast. He might attract the jealousy of others, Lan Yuxuan said as she watched Night Sorrow's departing figure. In tomorrow's battle, we still have to keep an eye on him. Last time, he was ambushed by the Dark Spiritual Corpse twice. I reckon that he will be the target of those bastards again, Lei Ho said. In that case, I'll keep an eye on his team. You guys focus on keeping an eye on the other teams with outstanding combat power, Lan Yuxuan said. This was the current method of the human camp. While training the cultivators, it was also a form of protection. That's good. Everyone else is the same. Lei Ho nodded and said, Russian? D Section 8 on 0 A night passed. After Night Sorrow finished his cultivation, he began to organize the team. I don't care how many you can kill. However, safety comes first. No matter the situation, you are not allowed to leave anyone behind, Night Sorrow said as he looked at Ho Jian's group and the Blood Guards. Captain, don't worry. Everyone bowed. All right, let's prepare for battle. There's one more thing. You can't go beyond my attack range. In other words, you're not allowed to go too deep, Night Sorrow emphasized. After seeing the group of people nod, Night Sorrow led a group of people and followed the other teams as they advanced to the front of the defensive line. The team on Night Sorrow's left was from the Medicine Valley, while the team on his right was from the Scarlet Cloud sect, which Night Sorrow didn't like. However, this was a time when they were united against a common enemy, so Night Sorrow didn't mind. At the defensive line, Dai Tianqiang waved the large flag in his hand and the human cultivators advanced forward. The dark creatures weren't fighting chaotically. They were currently gathering about 5 miles in front of the human defensive line, which was also a defensive line. This defensive line was used to prevent the human cultivators from advancing. Behind them, large numbers of undead creatures continued to gather. In this situation, there was a commander. The undead creatures knew the human cultivators' bottom line. Once they advanced to the human defensive line, the venerables among the human cultivators would take action and exterminate all the dark creatures. This was indeed the case for the human cultivators. They couldn't solve the root of the problem. Even if they killed some dark creatures, it wouldn't solve the problem. Therefore, they were guarding the defensive line at Broken Cloud Mountain. Every day, they sent out teams of cultivators to kill the dark creatures because they were worried that when the number of dark creatures was too large, the dark spiritual corpses would attack and entangle the venerables. Then, the large number of dark creatures would be able to break through the defensive line and enter the human area. This would be a huge disaster for the civilians. Similarly, the dark creatures weren't worried about the venerables attacking the dark camp. This was because as long as the venerables were at the front, the dark spiritual corpses would charge into the low-level human cultivators' camp and cause a large number of casualties. It could be said that this area had reached a balance point. The dark creatures' venerables had concerns, and so did the humans' venerables. Currently, both sides were in a stalemate situation. As soon as the human cultivators charged forward, the dark creatures began to move as well. Soon, the two sides began to engage in close combat and began to kill each other. Night Sorrow released Tianyu and Silver Fox so that they could join the battle and practice. The others' mounts couldn't do the same. If they weren't fast enough, they would be killed easily. Tianyu and Silver Fox were both good at speed. The members of the Bloodstrike Guard, Ho Jian, and the others cooperated and fought in groups. Night Sorrow was the sharp knife at the front. At this moment, the strength of the combat power could be seen. Most people fought one-on-one, but Night Sorrow didn't. The people he led also didn't fight one-on-one. Everyone fought in groups. Night Sorrow waved his reincarnation spear. As long as a dark creature touched it, it would be killed in one shot. The reincarnation spear was like a weapon from hell, constantly reaping the lives of the dark creatures. The Bloodstrike Guard, Ho Jian, and the others kept encircling the dark creatures in their circle of attack. Then they cooperated and killed the dark creatures that were encircled. Be careful. There are some rank 5 dark creatures up ahead. Night Sorrow kept releasing his soul power to check the situation in the surroundings. If a high-level dark creature appeared, he would discover it immediately. This team has been baptized in battle. Their individual combat power is strong and their group combat power is also ridiculously strong. Lan Yuxuan said to Qin Nan, who was standing beside her. At this moment, the two of them were standing in the sky behind the human cultivators, monitoring the entire battle. The other teams were the same. There were high-level human cultivators behind them. However, these high-level human cultivators also had a common understanding. They wouldn't attack unless a venerable realm dark creature appeared. This was to let the new generation of cultivators temper themselves. If they attacked when there was danger, they would lose the meaning of tempering themselves. 3 rank 5 dark creatures came to Night Sorrow's side. After Night Sorrow blocked one of them, he released a few more and let the others surround and kill them. At this moment, the combat power of Ho Jian's group and the Bloodstrike Guard was different from when they fought on the Dark Island. At that time, the highest cultivation base in the group was at the peak of the 4th rank. Now, there were more than 10 members of the 5th rank. Therefore, the 3 Void Inquiry stage dark creatures didn't bring any danger to the team. Night Sorrow killed the dark creatures he faced with a few shots. However, his expression changed greatly at the same time because the Medicine Valley's team couldn't hold on anymore. Gong Xian blocked a rank 5 dark zombie, but Imo Chen's team couldn't. He was hit by a dark lizard's claw and vomited blood. The dark lizard continued to pounce on Imo Chen. Chapter 446. Genius remembers love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Spatial ripples visible to the naked eye appeared and rapidly pushed forward. He couldn't see clearly, but through the ripples he could feel the crescent-shaped energy slash. It instantly flew into the back of the head of this dark lizard that had just entered the 5th rank, and then flew out from its chin. After cutting the rocks on the ground into pieces, it even created a large trench. At this time, the other disciples of the Medicine Valley rushed up and protected Emo-chin. Seeing that Emo-chin was safe, Night Sorrow felt relieved. He didn't want anything to happen to his senior brother. Besides, he was closer to Emo-chin than the other senior brothers. After all, they were familiar with each other. 13. Well done. Yang Lei was a little excited. She was stunned just now. If it wasn't for Sikong Chuyu helping her defend, she would have been injured. 9th senior sister. You better take care of yourself. Night Sorrow glanced at Yang Lei and said, Good job, 13. Gong Xian shouted at Night Sorrow as he executed the Tempest Sword technique and killed his opponent. Eldest senior brother, be careful, Night Sorrow shouted as he waved his reincarnation spear and killed the dark creatures. What kind of ultimate skill is that? Lan Yuxuan looked at Night Sorrow's figure in surprise. Love go little Siu, I don't know. Just now, he was holding the spear with both hands. Who knows how he unleashed that move? It even carried spatial energy. Could it be some kind of spirit artifact? Qin Nan was also somewhat confused. No, if it's a spirit artifact, then there would be a very strong energy fluctuation when it's activated. We didn't feel it at all. His hidden trump card is really deep. Lan Yuxuan said with some emotion. Our escort team will soon have another commander. Qin Nan said excitedly. That's not necessarily true. Lan Yuxuan said with a smile. Are you planning to snatch him? Qin Nan glared at Lan Yuxuan. Look at C5 edition Z chapter J. Governor Qin's words are wrong. He was originally one of us, right? Lan Yuxuan glanced at Night Sorrow who was fighting hard and laughed. Alright, you win. Qin Nan snorted coldly and didn't continue to dwell on this issue. She knew that there were some things that didn't need to be said. She knew Wu Lingfei's identity and knew that Night Sorrow's future wasn't something that Lan Yuxuan and the others could arrange. Night Sorrow continued to charge forward, leaving a trail of dark creature corpses behind him. He had already lost count of how many Tier 5 dark creatures he had killed. Love go little, say, one of them was very strong. Night Sorrow was the one who took the brunt of the attack. Everyone worked together to kill it. After killing it, they took out its crystal nucleus. Based on the patterns on its crystal nucleus, they knew that it was a void inquiry stage dark zombie. After fighting for 3 hours, the banners near the defensive line were waved, and everyone was ordered to retreat. After such a high-intensity battle, many people were already exhausted. If they continued to fight, the casualties would increase infinitely. The human cultivators retreated, and the dark creatures returned to their original positions. When human cultivators died, their corpses would be collected. The corpses of dark creatures naturally became food for the dark creatures. After retreating, Night Sorrow checked on the team. There were only 2 people who suffered light injuries. It wouldn't affect them in tomorrow's battle. After that, Night Sorrow and Yang Lei went to the Medicine Valley. The core members of the Medicine Valley didn't die. However, a few of them were injured. Emo-chin suffered a very serious internal injury. 13. Thank you. Seeing Night Sorrow, Chu Lingfei wiped the corner of her eyes and greeted him. Sister Lingfei, there's no need to be so polite between us. Night Sorrow went to Emo-chin. 11th senior brother, how was it? I'm fine. If it wasn't for you, 13, I would be a corpse now. Looking at Night Sorrow, Emo-chin felt a little emotional. 2 years ago, Night Sorrow was still a child who needed his protection. But now, he was already a void inquiry stage cultivator who could take charge of everything. Moreover, he even saved his life. Eldest senior brother, there shouldn't be any big problems on our side, right? Night Sorrow looked at Gong Xian and asked. It's impossible to have no casualties on the battlefield. The losses are still bearable. Come over and greet the Vice Valley Master, Gong Xian said to the team of Medicine Valley disciples. Greetings, Vice Valley Master. The other disciples of Medicine Valley bowed to Night Sorrow. Everyone, don't be so polite. Eldest senior brother, do we have enough healing medicine here? Night Sorrow asked. No problem. It's supplied by the City Lord Mansion. In addition, we still have the spiritual liquid you gave us. It will be very useful during critical times. Gong Xian nodded. All right then. If you have any problems, go over there and call for me. Night Sorrow cupped his fists at Gong Xian and then left the Medicine Valley camp, returning to the area where the blood-robed guards were stationed. However, Yang Lei stayed there and chatted with her senior and junior brothers. After returning to the camp, Night Sorrow called his subordinates who had reached the 5th tier to his tent. Then, he took out the clear void pills and distributed some to each of them. It's a very good shortcut to improve your cultivation base during a battle. Cultivate diligently after the battle. Xue Ling, distribute these spirit-calming pills to the other brothers. After distributing the clear void pills to the members of the 5th tier, Night Sorrow took out some spirit-calming pills. Xue Ling thanks Captain on behalf of the other brothers. Xue Ling bowed and said. After that, the members of the blood-robed guards left. Yang Lei also returned to Night Sorrow's tent. The battle was too fierce. Our Medicine Valley lost some disciples during this period of time, Yang Lei said sadly. 9th senior sister, take some life serum and give it to eldest senior brother. Let him distribute it to the others for self-defense. This way, if there's a problem, they can take a drop of life serum in time to stabilize their injuries and maintain their combat strength. Their chances of survival will be higher. Night Sorrow took out his jar of life serum, poured a bottle of pills into it, and handed it to Yang Lei. All right, I'll send it over. Yang Lei took the bottle of life serum and went to the Medicine Valley area. Night Sorrow poured another bottle of life serum into it. Then he called for Xue Ling and Ho Jian. This is a type of life serum that contains life serum. It's very effective for both healing and recovery. Distribute it equally among the brothers, Night Sorrow said. Thank you, Captain. Ho Jian and Xue Ling bowed to express their gratitude. They knew that this was something that could save their lives. All right, there's no need for such formalities between us brothers. Night Sorrow waved his hand at them. Then, Night Sorrow gave Yang Lei and Sikong Chu a small bottle of life serum each. He had a very large jar, and this was only 1/10 of the total amount. Night Sorrow had some plans. He had already cultivated the myriad Tao Tome to level 8 of the Consolidation Realm. He was not far from the level 5 Tao Querying Realm. Night Sorrow did not know how to deal with the problem of cultivation resources for entering the Tao Querying Realm. If there were no suitable cultivation resources, Night Sorrow would have to use the life serum to cultivate. Yi Shang knew that it was completely possible. The life spirit fluid was a spirit fluid that contained extremely strong vitality. It was a resource that both cultivators and demonic beasts needed. Chapter 447. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with interesting novels to read. The first level of the Myriad Tao Treasure Tome was the Blood Refining Realm, which was equivalent to the Qi Refining Realm. The second level was the Muscle Strengthening Realm, which was equivalent to the Qi Refining Realm. The third level was the Bone Forging Realm, which was equivalent to the Core Formation Realm. The fourth level was the Unity Realm, which was equivalent to the Spirit Severing Realm. The fifth level was the Tao Querying Realm, which was equivalent to the Void Inquiry Realm. The sixth level was the Spirit Refinement Realm, which was equivalent to the Boundless Heaven Realm, which was equivalent to the Venerable Realm. The seventh level was the Golden Body Realm, which was equivalent to the Sage Realm. Currently, Night Sorrow's Myriad Tao Treasure Tome was at the 8th level of the Unity Realm. The next level was the Tao Querying Realm, which was a rather special realm. It was a summary of the previous 4 levels. After entering the Tao Querying Realm, one would have to break the barrier of the energy in each area of the body. In other words, one would have to unify the energy in one's flesh, blood, veins, bones, bone marrow, and internal organs. This way, The energy would burst out faster and the strength of one's attack and defense would increase by leaps and bounds. Ordinary cultivators would use their qi to activate the profound meaning of the heavenly Tao. After reaching the peak of the void inquiry realm, one would enter the venerable realm, which would allow one to become one with the world and use the energy of heaven and earth. The Myriad Tao Treasure Tome was about using one's body to seek the Tao. The Tao Querying Realm was similar to the Void Inquiry Realm. After reaching the peak of the Tao Querying Realm, one would enter the Spirit Refinement Realm, which was the same as the Venerable Realm for true Qi cultivators. The Myriad Tao Treasure Tome had a great advantage in terms of foundation. Both of them had reached the realm where one could communicate with the energy of heaven and earth. However, cultivating the Myriad Tao Treasure Tome had an additional benefit, which was to have a strong body. The highest level of the Sacred Cauldron Scripture was the Sage Realm. However, the 8th level of the Myriad Tao Treasure Tome was the Undead Realm while the 9th level was the Rebirth Realm. This was also the reason why Night Sorrow attached great importance to the Myriad Tao Treasure Tome. The starting point was the same but the results were different. What are you thinking about? You are so engrossed in your thoughts. Sikong Chuyu waved her hand in front of Night Sorrow's eyes. Night Sorrow explained to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu, "Hee, I was a bit distracted. This thing is a bit different from the Spiritual Essence Elixir. The Spiritual Essence Elixir is a great help for Zhen Qi. It can calm the unstable Zhen Qi and also replenish the Zhen Qi consumed. This Spiritual Essence Elixir can stabilize the body's injuries. Peach #original NH initial square root $$, we understand." Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu nodded. "We've been fighting for an entire day. Let's make the best use of our time to cultivate. This way, we'll be able to increase our cultivation base more firmly." Night Sorrow nodded to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. He took out the mysterious ice jade that Wu Lingfei gave him and began to meditate. While Night Sorrow was cultivating peacefully, some of the venerables were present in the command tent of the Eastern Xian region's cultivators. "If we continue like this, we will be at a disadvantage," Dai Tianqiang said. "For the time being, but as time passes, this disadvantage will turn into an advantage. There are many monsters in the death space, but is there an endless supply? That's impossible." Ho Yuan, who was wearing a mask, said, "It's impossible for there to be an endless supply. If we continue killing like this, there will be an end. This is a great tempering for the cultivators of the Eastern Xian region. Those who can survive such a battle are elites. As for those who die, we will thank them for their contributions to the Eastern Xian region. At the same time, we will also save resources for others. Those who survive will have an easier time rising up. This is the great wave washing away the sand." The others nodded. The survival of the fittest was the law of survival. This was the great wave washing away the sand. These big shots who had gone through countless hardships to reach the venerable realm all understood this principle. Although many of those who died in battle were their juniors, they could only accept it. "Then we will continue to fight. If we don't have enough people, we will mobilize some of the Black Iron Guards from the City Lord's mansion." Love Go Little Tu Qinin said, "Not for the time being. Look at the teams from the 7 great sections. They do have cultivation, but their cultivation bases are high and their battle prowess is low. They can't compare to Yishan's team at all. A group of spoiled hedonistic disciples need to be tempered with iron and blood. Tell them to send more people over," said Lei Hua somewhat angrily. The others silently agreed. In today's battle, the difference in strength between the teams was very obvious. They were all 4th Order teams led by 5th Order teams, but their combat strength was completely trash in front of Night Sorrow's team. No one objects. "Let's arrange it this way. If they don't contribute, then we will settle the score with them later," Qin Nen said. "In addition, there are some special seedlings that everyone should pay attention to," Lan Yuxuan said. She didn't want to see the direct members of Tianji Tower lose their lives. Everyone must pay attention to this. If they are not strong enough, then it's their own business if they die in battle, but if they are killed by the Dark Spirit Corpse, then it's our fault, Lei Hua said. "Did you guys notice the move Night Sorrow used to save people today? Was it the space slash?" Dai Tianxiang asked. It should be some kind of unique skill. It's personal, so let's not dig into it, Lei Hua said. Others didn't know what was going on, but Lei Hua knew. He knew that it was the unique skill of the descendants of Night Moon's dynasty, Night Sorrow cultivated for the whole night. After getting up, he stretched his muscles and walked out of the tent. After leaving the tent, Night Sorrow was stunned. The Bloodstrike guards and Ho Jian were all up. They were roasting 3 monsters in the middle of the camp. Captain, it's almost done. After eating and drinking, we brothers will continue to kill, Xueling shouted to Night Sorrow. I don't eat dark monsters. Night Sorrow frowned. When he thought of the dark creatures and dark zombies, Night Sorrow didn't have any thoughts. Captain, you're thinking too much. This is the yellow antelope that the Qinzhen woke up early to hunt on our side of the defensive line, Xue Fei said with a smile. Then let's eat. Qinzhen, thank you for your hard work. You have to hurry up and cultivate, Night Sorrow said as he patted Qinzhen's shoulder. After waking up this morning, I didn't have much to do, so I went hunting and came back to get some food for everyone. Thank you all for taking care of me, Qinzhen said with a red face. Qinzhen, go get some game for everyone. Everyone will be happy, but there's no need to thank us. We are brothers, Xueling said to Qinzhen. Thank you, Vice Captain. I understand, Qinzhen nodded. I'll take care of the wine. After eating, we will continue to fight. Let's see if these dark creatures can stop us. Night Sorrow took out a dozen jars of wine and placed them beside the fire. No matter who it is, as long as they stand in our way, we will kill them. Ho Jian said with a laugh. Kill. Anyone who stands in our way will be killed. Xueling and the others also said loudly. Then, the group opened the wine jars, cut the meat of the yellow antelope, and distributed it. Brothers, let's eat and drink well. Let's continue to kill. I will take care of the prey that comes back tonight, Xue Fei shouted. This momentum is soaring, Dai Tianxiang exclaimed. Chapter 448. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. After drinking, the group of people formed a battle formation. Brothers, I'll say it again. We won't leave any of our brothers behind. Many years later, when I stand in front of all of you and look back, I hope that one of you will be missing, Night Sorrow said. We won't let you down, Captain. Ho Jian and the rest of the Bloodstrike Guard shouted. Then, the group left the camp and arrived at the defensive line. The other groups also arrived at the defensive line. Night Sorrow tied the sky-piercing spear with and without the ice serpent tendon to his waist. Then the group set out to fight. The intensity of the battle was the same as the day before. In fact, it was even more intense. Night Sorrow brandished his reincarnation spear and the dark creatures fell one after another. When the Medicine Valley disciples were in danger, Night Sorrow would fire his sky-piercing spear to save them. After fighting for 2 hours, Night Sorrow's group killed countless enemies and saved the Medicine Valley disciples 4 times. With Night Sorrow's help, no one in the Medicine Valley died. On the other hand, the Scarlet Cloud sect to the right of Night Sorrow was in a sorry state. At this moment, 2 rank 5 dark zombies appeared in front of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow wasn't worried about the 2 mid-stage rank 5 dark zombies. Just as Night Sorrow's group was paying attention to the Medicine Valley, the Scarlet Cloud sect started a riot. 3 dark zombies appeared there. At this moment, something unexpected happened. Dozens of people from the Scarlet Cloud sect rushed towards Night Sorrow's group. They even brought the dark creatures with them. Hold your ground. Kill all of them. Night Sorrow was enraged. The Scarlet Cloud sect's actions were too vile. They could retreat if they couldn't hold on, but they couldn't do this. They were just causing trouble for others. Otherwise, Night Sorrow wouldn't have given the order to kill them. Trash. Qin Nan, who was monitoring Night Sorrow's area from the sky, cursed. Human cultivator parasites. Let's see if Night Sorrow and the others can hold on. If they can't, we'll take action. The situation has already gone beyond our expectations. Lan Yuxuan's face was covered by a mask, so it was impossible to tell if she was happy or angry, but her voice was cold. At this moment, Night Sorrow made his move. The sky-piercing spear with the ice serpent tendon shot out continuously, killing several members of the Scarlet Cloud sect who were charging towards them. This was something that couldn't be helped. If this group of people rushed over, Night Sorrow's side would be thrown into chaos. Seeing Night Sorrow's ruthless attack, the people from the Scarlet Cloud sect no longer dared to charge forward and retreated. However, the group of dark creatures that attacked them had been lured over. Tighten the defense and stabilize the formation. After Night Sorrow gave the order, he joined the battle with 2 dark zombies that were charging towards him. Due to the urgency of the situation, Night Sorrow fought with all his might, suppressing the 2 Type 5 zombies. However, he couldn't kill them. After all, there were still many Type 4 dark creatures attacking him. The situation of Ho Jian and the blood-robed guards wasn't looking good. The Scarlet Cloud sect had brought over 3 dark zombies, and their levels weren't low. Stabilize. Type 5 members, keep them busy. The rest, defend the perimeter. Night Sorrow shouted. He then fired a spatial rend at the Type 5 zombie that he had just defeated. He had to end the battle quickly. Otherwise, Ho Jian and the others who had just entered the Type 5 realm wouldn't be able to hold on against the Type 5 zombies. If that happened, they would be in danger. If there were only Type 5 zombies, Yang Lei and Sikong Chiu would still be able to hold on since they were at a disadvantage. However, there were too many dark creatures at the moment. They had to face attacks at all times. The other 3 dark zombies were all mid-Type 5 dark zombies. The spatial rend that Night Sorrow used was very sudden. The Type 4 dark zombie couldn't withstand it, and its head was directly split open by the spatial rend. After killing this dark zombie, Night Sorrow turned around and rushed towards Yang Lei and Sikong Chiu. Ho Jian, Xueling, you 2 go and block this one. Night Sorrow did not continue attacking this dark zombie because its level was slightly lower. It had just entered the Type 4 Void Inquiry stage. Ho Jian and Xueling could hold it off for a while. Currently, the most dangerous ones were the 3 dark zombies that the Scarlet Cloud sect brought over. Seeing that the situation was urgent, Night Sorrow launched the heaven-piercing spear with the Ice Flood Dragon's tendon when he dashed forward. It repelled one of the dark zombies and separated the 3 dark zombies from each other. Ninth Senior Sister, Chu Yu and Li Yu, the 3 of you go and control this one. Night Sorrow shook his arm and kept the heaven-piercing spear. Then he roared at Yang Lei, Sikong Chiu and Nan Liyue. After shouting, Night Sorrow dashed towards the dark zombie in the lead. He brandished the reincarnation spear and displayed the 7-star brilliant moon spear, aiming it at the dark zombie's chest. Original F version, first 7 shots carat, bang. Night Sorrow's spear landed on the dark zombie's blade that it used to block the attack. Under Night Sorrow's spiraling attack, the dark zombie was pushed back by the strong penetrating force. At this moment, another dark zombie slashed its blade towards Night Sorrow's side. Out of the 3 dark zombies that the Scarlet Cloud sect brought over, 1 was taken away by Yang Lei, Sikong Chiu and Nan Liyue. Night Sorrow still had to face 2 more. Retreat! Night Sorrow roared. He waved his left hand and used the earth-shaking hand to welcome the dark zombie's blade. At the same time, he brandished the reincarnation spear in his right hand again. He used the myriad Dao Tome's energy to display the vibration force, which didn't conflict with the earth-shaking hand's true chi. Bang! Night Sorrow's earth-shaking hand collided with the second dark zombie's blade. After a loud explosion, the dark zombie's blade and arm were shattered. At the same time, Night Sorrow's spear also repelled the dark zombie in front of him. Taking 2 steps forward, Night Sorrow brandished his spear again. He was still using the myriad Dao Tome's energy because his true chi had been exhausted. Following the explosion, the dark zombie that was at the peak of rank 5, rank 6 was once again repelled by Night Sorrow. At the same time, Night Sorrow's innate bloodline energy burst forth once again and released a spatial rend. Kacha! The dark zombie that was continuously repelled by Night Sorrow had its head chopped off by the energy of the spatial rend. However, Night Sorrow didn't have it easy either. The moment his body stopped after releasing the spatial rend, The dark zombie that had lost its right arm punched him in the back, sending him flying. This caused him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Kill! The myriad Dao tomes energy circulated once in his body. Night Sorrow brandished his reincarnation spear and charged towards the dark zombie that had lost its right arm. Although Night Sorrow's true chi was exhausted and he was punched, the dark zombie that had lost its right arm was no match for him. After 3 spears, Night Sorrow shattered its neck. However, Night Sorrow also spat out another mouthful of blood. Captain! At this time, Ho Jian and Xueling, who had killed the rank 5, rank 4 dark zombie, rushed over and blocked the ordinary dark creatures that were attacking Night Sorrow. Retreat! Night Sorrow supported himself with the reincarnation spear so that he wouldn't fall. After consuming a drop of origin energy and a drop of life liquid, he gave the order to retreat. This was because the flag at the Eastern Xin region's defense line was waving. That was the order to retreat. At this time, Yang Lei, Sikong Chuyu, and the others had joined forces to kill the last rank 5 dark zombie. Chapter 449. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Let's go back first, Night Sorrow said as he patted Lei Bao's shoulder. When they arrived at the campsite, Night Sorrow entered his tent and sat down cross-legged to meditate and heal his injuries. His injuries weren't serious, but his internal organs were shaken. His main problem was that he had consumed too much of his genuine chi and myriad Dao treasured tome. He couldn't even activate the Golden Phoenix battle armor. At this moment, the Bloodstrike guards, Ho Jian, and the rest surrounded Night Sorrow's tent. Gong Xian, who had delivered the sky-piercing spear, was among them. Everyone's expression was unsightly because Yi Shang's injuries were caused by the Scarlet Cloud sect. Vice Captain, we can't let this go. Let's kill them. Xue Fei's eyes were bloodshot as he looked at the campsite of the Scarlet Cloud sect. Of course we can't let this go. Let's wait for the captain to finish healing, Xue Ling said with killing intent in his voice. After an hour, Night Sorrow came out of his tent. With the help of the spiritual liquid of origin and spiritual liquid of life, he had almost recovered. The punch wasn't much of a problem. Without saying a word, Night Sorrow walked toward the campsite of the Scarlet Cloud sect with the reincarnation spear. If he didn't say anything after being tricked, he wouldn't be Night Sorrow. Ho Jian and the others, as well as the blood-robed guards, followed. They all had stomachs full of anger. Everyone knew that if it weren't for Night Sorrow, even if they weren't completely wiped out, they would have suffered heavy losses. What are you doing? Seeing Night Sorrow and the rest coming over, the disciples of the Scarlet Cloud sect were on alert. What are we doing? Ask your supervisor to come out. He's the leader of today's battle, Night Sorrow said as he pointed at the tent in the middle of the campsite of the Scarlet Cloud sect. In the command tent, a group of honorables was discussing how to deal with this matter. When they found out that Night Sorrow and the rest had arrived at the campsite of the Scarlet Cloud sect, everyone stood up. What should we do? Qin Nan looked at Lei Hua and asked. Lei Hua was currently wearing the Tianji Tower mask, but Qin Nan knew that Lei Hua was actually the second in command in the City Lord's mansion. We'll see how it goes. If it's not too much, we'll just let them do as they please. This Scarlet Cloud sect is truly too shameless. Lei Hua said. An old man walked out from the middle tent of the Scarlet Cloud sect. He was the elder of the Scarlet Cloud sect, Qi Ying. He was at the late stage of the 5th order. Although his cultivation was high, he couldn't handle 3 mid-stage 5th order dark zombies. Therefore, he gave the order to charge at Yishan. If you commit suicide to atone for your sins, I'll pretend nothing happened today, Night Sorrow said coldly to Crimson Shadow. What are you thinking? Qi Ying coldly snorted. You must die today. My injury is a small matter. What do you think the brothers behind me are? Night Sorrow said as he waved his reincarnation spear. Prepare for battle. Qi Ying snorted coldly and ordered the disciples of the Scarlet Cloud sect. Insolent. You don't dare to fight the darkness zombies, so now you want to show off your might. Surround and kill. Night Sorrow shouted to the people behind him. At this time, the disciples of the Medicine Valley camp, the Thunder Rumbling Sect camp, and the Southern Dipper Sect camp all came over. The people of the Holy Light Temple also came to the periphery. The ones who did not move were the Free and Unfettered Sect and the Star Cloud Sect. What are you guys doing? Qi Ying's expression changed. Nothing much. You can't trick the disciples of the Medicine Valley. Gong Xian coldly said. Yes, you tricked the disciples of the Thunder Rumbling Sect. Go to hell. Lei Juyun, who was leading the disciples of the Thunder Rumbling Sect, also roared. What are you waiting for? Captain, give the order to kill. Ho Jian walked to Night Sorrow's side and said, You can't do this. Qi Ying's expression changed. It was already difficult for the Scarlet Cloud Sect to deal with Night Sorrow's group, not to mention that there were so many of them. If they attacked, the entire Scarlet Cloud Sect would be wiped out. Qi Ying, take your own life as an apology. I will guarantee that the rest of your Scarlet Cloud Sect will be fine. Lei Hu looked at Qi Ying and said, This is not fair, I don't accept it. We came here to fight for the Eastern Shen domain. Qi Ying swung his arm and roared. Do you think this is your capital to mess around? You are from the Eastern Shen domain, so it is natural for you to fight for the Eastern Shen domain. Do you think that few people have died during this period of time? Did anyone run away or retreat? Your Scarlet Cloud Sect was the first to run away. Moreover, when you retreated, you used despicable means. Therefore you must die. Lei Hu coldly said. Hearing Lei Hu's words, Qi Ying's beard trembled, but he didn't say anything to refute. Lei Hu's words hit the nail on the head, and what he said was the truth. If you take your own life, then this matter will be considered a personal mistake. If you make another choice, then the nature of the matter will be different. Before the external war, it is normal for us to clean up the internal troubles. It can be said that I am doing this to give your Scarlet Cloud Sect a chance. Qi Ning said, Hate, the hate. Qi Ying roared and slammed his palm on the top of his head, shattering his spirit ocean. Listen up, I, Night Sorrow, don't care if you participate in the war or not. However, if anyone dares to trick me or the brothers behind me, I won't let this matter rest. Retreat. After issuing a warning to the members of the Scarlet Cloud Sect, Yi Shang ordered Ho Jian's group and the Bloodstrike Guards to retreat. Night Sorrow and the others left, and so did the others. Everyone knew that Night Sorrow's words weren't just for the Scarlet Cloud Sect. It could be understood as a declaration to everyone. After returning to the camp, Night Sorrow waved his hand at his brothers and told them to rest. He returned to his tent to continue cultivating and calming the blood in his body. Qin Nan and the others also returned to the command tent. Fortunately, this fellow didn't lose his mind. Otherwise, the situation wouldn't be easy to control, Qi Nan said. In fact, if Night Sorrow didn't let go of this matter and directly attacked, the group of high-level cultivators of the Eastern Xin region would have to take action. In order to quell public anger, the Scarlet Cloud Sect would be wiped out. Yes, he might not be willing to accept it, but for the sake of the big picture, he was able to control his emotions. This is very rare. Not only did he display amazing combat strength, but he also controlled the situation very accurately. His battle awareness is also very strong. At the critical moment, he was able to calmly command his subordinates to retreat. He is impeccable. He is a perfect seedling. Lan Yuxuan was very satisfied with Night Sorrow's performance. At that time, he had already fought for 2 hours. If he was at his peak, the battle wouldn't have been so difficult, Dai Tianqiang said. Fastest K on Hicks, I have no choice but to admit defeat. Most importantly, he has a very powerful spatial slash. I observed him for a while, but I still couldn't figure it out, Ardent Feng, who had been silent all this time, said. Let's not talk about this for now. When he fights again, pay more attention to his safety. His performance is so outstanding that the Dark Spiritual Corps will definitely notice him. If there is an assassination, it will definitely target him. Lei Hu was a little worried about Night Sorrow's safety. At this moment, Night Sorrow, who was recuperating in his tent, discovered a special situation. His fourth bloodline ability had completely loosened and could be activated at any time. Chapter 450. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. As Night Sorrow's 3 innate bloodline energy points surged, Night Sorrow's 4th innate bloodline energy point erupted and merged with the first 3. Love go little say. Night Sorrow felt that his 4th innate bloodline energy point had more potential. Although it didn't release much energy, it had a lot of room for development after cultivation. The 4 innate bloodline energy points gathered together and began to operate on their own, absorbing the spatial energy between heaven and earth to strengthen themselves. Good. Night Sorrow roared in his heart as he activated his 4th innate bloodline energy point. It didn't increase his basic strength, but it increased his actual combat strength by a lot. After Night Sorrow's innate bloodline energy was activated, not only could he use spatial rend, but he could also merge it with his body and temporarily increase the myriad Dao Tome's energy and true Qi. However, Night Sorrow hadn't used it recently. After cultivating for an entire night, Night Sorrow's condition was very good. He wasn't affected by the punch at all and had completely recovered to his peak state. When Night Sorrow came out, the Bloodstrike guards, Ho Jian, and the others were cultivating their combat skills. Moreover, the fire was already lit and the game was roasting over it until it was golden and dripping with oil. Captain, if you didn't come out, we would have gone to call you. How are your injuries? Nan Liu asked. I've completely recovered. There aren't any problems, Night Sorrow said with a smile. That's good. Let's eat and drink some wine before we continue fighting. Nan Liu said as she pointed at the wine beside the fire. Where did you get the wine? Night Sorrow asked. The Star Cloud sect provided it. They did a good job this time, Ho Jian said. Then let's eat and drink to our heart's content first. Night Sorrow said with a smile. After eating and drinking, the team gathered again to fight. However, this time, the team's position changed. The right side of Night Sorrow's team was now the Walkabout sect. How could the upper echelons of the Eastern Xian region place the Scarlet Cloud sect beside Night Sorrow's team? There was already a conflict between them. If they were to be placed together, it would easily lead to more trouble. The following battle was uneventful. 2 or 3 rank 5 dark creatures couldn't cause any danger to Night Sorrow's team. The team behind him didn't suffer any casualties, but it wasn't the same for the other teams. The teams of the other sects often needed to be replenished because there were more members who had died or lost their ability to fight. Not only did Yi Chang's team not die, they didn't even suffer any serious injuries. Medicine Valley's losses weren't high either, mainly because Yi Chang's side had the sky-piercing spear to save their lives. After every battle, Yi Shang would meditate and cultivate. He used the spiritual origin liquid to cultivate his genuine qi. He used the blood essence of ice spirits and soul crystals to cultivate the myriad Tao treasure tome and soul power. As for the improvement of his bloodline talent, Yi Shang did not use the space crystals. Wu Lingfei's advice was to stabilize his foundation first. He would only use the spatial crystals when his foundation was truly stable. He had just activated his 4th innate bloodline energy point. What he needed now was to advance steadily. They fought during the day and cultivated at night. When the members of the Blood Robes Guards wanted to break through, Night Sorrow would arrange for them to rest and stabilize their cultivation bases. Every time Night Sorrow's team fought, Qin Nan and Lan Yuxuan would pay close attention to them, not giving the Dark Spirit Corpses a chance to sneak attack them. Night Sorrow was also very careful. After all, it wasn't fun to be sneak attacked by the Dark Spirit Corpses. Even though he had a spirit weapon to protect himself and ensure that he wouldn't die, Night Sorrow still couldn't withstand serious injuries. 20 days passed in the blink of an eye. Night Sorrow's true Qi cultivation base had reached the mid-second level of the Void Inquiry stage. The Myriad Dao scripture was also not far from the 8th level of the Consolidation realm. However, the improvement of his innate bloodline energy and soul power was slow. The improvement of his innate bloodline energy required him to absorb spatial energy. Spatial energy was a rare attribute and its improvement was slow. Even with the help of the soul crystals, the improvement of his soul power was not fast. This made Night Sorrow understand how difficult it was to cultivate soul power. He also knew that this was a normal phenomenon. If soul power was easy to improve, venerable realm experts would be as common as dogs on the streets. The atmosphere in Night Sorrow's team was also the best. Every day they had good wine and meat. They ate happily and fought vigorously. This was something that the other teams couldn't compare with. This was something that couldn't be helped. The other teams had casualties and injuries every day. How could they be happy? As time went by, more and more members of the Blood Robes Guards reached the 5th level. More than half of them had reached the 5th level. Lei Bao and Lei Zheng's cultivation base was also very fast. After eating the profound meditation pill, they had successfully advanced to the 8th level of the spirit-severing realm. In addition, Qin Zhen's cultivation base was improving very quickly. If it didn't slow down, he would soon reach the 4th level. After returning from another battle, Night Sorrow discovered that the Scarlet Cloud sect's campsite was gloomy and gloomy. The previous battle had reduced their numbers by half. They didn't wait for reinforcements. Instead, they retreated and left Broken Cloud Mountain. If they don't have a bright future, they won't be able to fight. Qin Nen didn't stop them from leaving. They are short-sighted. Not being able to replenish their numbers is a problem. At the same time, the main reason is that they are afraid of suffering losses. The upper echelons of the sect don't know what this battle means, Lan Yuxuan lamented. This kind of battle isn't just for training the disciples. It is also a battle for prestige and luck. Not participating in this kind of battle may seem like they are preserving their strength, but at the same time, they are losing their righteousness. They will lose their prestige and reputation. What alliance? Who would dare trust them? Qin Nan snorted coldly. Her eyes were filled with disdain and contempt. Yes, this kind of battle is for the Eastern Xian region. They will more or less be blessed by luck. However, they don't understand, Lan Yuxuan said with a smile. At this moment, the people of the Starry Cloud sect were disappointed. They were disappointed to have such an ally. The departure of the Scarlet Cloud sect meant that the alliance between the two sides had been broken. Now that the Starry Cloud sect was in trouble, the other sects had come to help defend against the dark creatures. As an ally, the Scarlet Cloud sect should have done more. However, the Scarlet Cloud sect had left first. This was treachery. Night Sorrow and the others also looked in the direction of the Scarlet Cloud sect. Useless. Such a sect is one of the 7 superforces. What a disgrace. Lei Bao said as he looked at the Scarlet Cloud sect with disdain. Hee, what should we do? Should we hold them back and beat them up? Ho Jian looked at Lei Bao and said with a smile. Don't provoke me. If you do, I will kill the people of the Scarlet Cloud sect when I see them, Lei Bao snorted and said. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, let them go. It doesn't matter. I feel that the number of dark creatures is not as high as before. There shouldn't be a lot of reinforcements, Schwelling said. Let's train in the actual battle. Now that everyone's cultivation has improved quickly and is solid, this is good. Moreover, everyone has a tacit understanding with each other. This will be good for the battles we may encounter in the future, Night Sorrow said as he waved the reincarnation spear in his hand. Chapter 451. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Maybe, but that kind of war has nothing to do with us. That's the business of the experts. At most, we'll take care of the small fries or shout a few times. Love go little say, Chu. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You make it sound so easy. You mean we're going to fight and you're just going to watch the show? Qin Nan and Lan Yuxuan came over, followed by Lei Hua, who was wearing a mask. If I'm not going to watch the show, are you going to let me charge? Isn't that sending me to my death? Night Sorrow said. Alright, you're right. I heard what you said just now. That's the truth. After you guys killed the dark creatures, the number of dark creatures has decreased greatly. This means that the final battle is not far away. It can happen at any time. Qin Nen said. I can't interfere in the war. After all, that's the Venerable's business. I'm similar to the dark beasts. I'm just a small fry. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Nonsense. You were targeted by the dark spirit corpses today. They just didn't attack because we were closer to you. Qin Nan glared at Night Sorrow and said, You're being targeted again? Yi Shan asked in surprise. Yes, so you should be careful tomorrow. Be ready to run at any time. Love, go, little Chulan Yushuan said with a smile. All right. Night Sorrow nodded. All right, as long as you're prepared. They'll definitely attack you in the next 2 days. Lei Hua said. Aren't they still targeting me? Night Sorrow asked with some surprise. Yes, more than one. Qin Nan nodded. Stay away from me tomorrow. Night Sorrow said to Yang Lei and Sikong Chu. After chatting for a while, Qin Nan and Lei Hua left. Here, take this. Looking at Qin Nan and Lei Hua leaving, Lan Yushuan took out a protective bracelet and handed it to Night Sorrow. Protective bracelet? Night Sorrow asked Lan Yushuan. Yes, you can keep it as a backup. Don't worry if it's used up or not. Don't let those guys know. They asked me for it, but I said I didn't have it. Lan Yushuan said. Night Sorrow understands. Thank you, Inspector Blue. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Lan Yushuan waved at Night Sorrow and left Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow looked at the bracelet and threw it into his storage ring. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao, say, www.taichuexis.com, why aren't you wearing it? Yang Lei frowned as she looked at Night Sorrow. I have the Golden Phoenix soft armor and the Ice Silkworm soft clothes. 2 layers of defense are enough, Night Sorrow said. No, there are a few dark spiritual corpses staring at you. You should wear the bracelet. You can activate it at any time. It's much safer this way, Sikong Chu said as he pulled Night Sorrow's arm. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and took out the bracelet and put it on his wrist. He knew he wouldn't be able to use it. After cultivating for a night, Night Sorrow woke up early. While the Bloodstrike guards were roasting meat, he practiced his spear techniques and stretched his muscles. The Qinjin brought Night Sorrow wine and roasted meat. After eating, Night Sorrow gathered his team. There's a special situation today. You are not allowed to come within 10 meters of me, Night Sorrow said to Ho Jian and the Bloodstrike guards. That's not a reasonable distance. If something happens, we won't be able to provide reinforcements in time, Ho Jian said, puzzled. Just do as I say. Remember it well. Also, I'll emphasize this once more. As soon as you hear the order to retreat, retreat immediately. No matter what the situation is, set off now, Night Sorrow said to the group. After giving his instructions, Night Sorrow led his team to the defensive line. Standing at the defensive line, Night Sorrow looked ahead. The dark creature's defensive line was still there, and the dark creatures behind were still gathering. If one wasn't observant, they wouldn't have noticed that the dark creatures were running out of strength. As Dai Tianxiang waved his banner, the human cultivators of the eastern Xian region charged forward once more. Night Sorrow led the Bloodstrike guards and Tianji Tower's team to charge forward. Night Sorrow, who had a defensive heart, was especially careful. He tried his best not to use his true energy or the myriad Tao scriptures energy. Instead, he relied on his physical strength to fight and maintain his peak condition. Night Sorrow's physical strength alone was comparable to that of a rank 4 cultivator or a demonic beast. Relying on his physical strength and occasionally using some true energy, Night Sorrow's killing methods were as sharp as ever. The Bloodstrike guards and Tianji Tower's team obeyed Night Sorrow's orders and maintained a certain distance from Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow brandished his reincarnation spear and slowly penetrated the dark creature's ranks. At the same time, he released his soul power to scout the situation ahead. An hour later, Yishang had killed his way into the front 7 or 8 miles. Along the way, Yishang had consumed a drop of origin spirit liquid to maintain his peak condition. Night Sorrow's hair stood on end as he killed a dark demon wolf with a single spear strike. He felt as if he was being watched. Retreat! Night Sorrow shouted. Then his true energy erupted as he activated the Golden Phoenix soft armor. As Night Sorrow covered his body with the Golden Phoenix soft armor, the unique space of a venerable also bound him. Moreover, it wasn't just 1 but 2 spatial fetters that were applied to Night Sorrow's body. At the same time, 3 dark spiritual corpses appeared and rushed toward Night Sorrow. Bastard! With his body and head bound, Night Sorrow couldn't even open his mouth to curse. He could only curse in his heart and activate the myriad Tao scripture's energy to protect himself. At the same time, he activated the ice silk soft armor. If it was just one dark spiritual corpse, Night Sorrow wouldn't be so nervous. However, these 3 venerable dark spiritual corpses wanted to kill him. At this time, the venerables of the Eastern Profound region also moved. Qin Nan and Lan Yushuan were at the front. Lei Hua and Ho Yuan also rushed over. Lei Hua and Ho Yuan were originally at the back of the other teams. Now, the situation showed that Night Sorrow's side was the focal point of the battle. Bang! With a muffled sound, Night Sorrow's body was pushed back dozens of feet. The Golden Phoenix soft armor flashed and blocked the energy blade. However, Night Sorrow couldn't move as the spatial fetters were still in effect. Night Sorrow wanted to run but couldn't. Just as the thought flashed through his mind, an energy fist once again bombarded Night Sorrow's chest. After the Golden Phoenix soft armor flashed twice, it disintegrated and turned into shoulder pads that buckled on Night Sorrow's shoulder. However, the strength of the energy fist was weakened a lot. The remaining energy was blocked by Night Sorrow's ice silk soft armor. At this time, another blade light attacked Night Sorrow. The 3 dark spiritual corpses, while imprisoning Night Sorrow, attacked Night Sorrow with all their strength. They wanted to kill Night Sorrow. Look at Chapter 1 of Chapter 1 $. This method was no different from a human's intelligence. It was fine if they didn't move, but when they did, they would kill. Night Sorrow's expression changed. If he took another blade light head-on, he would be seriously injured. At this time, Lan Yushuan and Qin Nan could only block the dark spiritual corpse's attack path. They couldn't help him deal with the 3rd attack. The main reason was that the dark spiritual corpse's sneak attacks were too fast. At this critical moment, Night Sorrow used his innate skill, Spatial Rend, to attack his side. Chapter 452. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. The space bind was broken. Night Sorrow's body flashed a few feet away through the space bind. As soon as Night Sorrow dodged, the 3rd dark spiritual corpse's blade aura whizzed past and cut a gully in the ground a few feet away. Retreat quickly. After being blasted twice in a row, Night Sorrow wasn't too far away from the Bloodstrike Guards and the Extreme Heavens Tower team. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Xue Ling and Ho Jian quickly retreated with their people. Night Sorrow, are you okay? Sikong Chuyu, who was running with Night Sorrow, asked worriedly. I'm fine. I'm fully prepared. I'm not injured. Night Sorrow pulled Sikong Chuyu and Yang Lei away and turned to watch the battle between the venerables. At this time, a group of venerables was fighting. More than 3 dark spiritual corpses came out from the dark creature camp. One of the dark spiritual corpses that had successfully ambushed the Walkabout sect rushed over and joined the battle. 2 more dark spiritual corpses also rushed out from the dark creature camp and fought with the venerables of the Eastern Xian region. Night Sorrow could not see clearly with the naked eye, so he released his soul power to observe the battle. After observing for a moment, Yang Kai found that Lei Hua was the most ferocious, followed by Lan Yushuan and Qin Nan. Ho Yuan was fighting the dark spirit corpse from the free and unfettered sect. Dai Tianxiang, Lu Zhenyu, and the Bloodstrike Guard commander were comparatively weaker. A big battle is coming. Night Sorrow reached out and touched the Golden Phoenix soft armor on his shoulder. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with the strength of the Golden Phoenix soft armor. When he used all his strength, he could block 2 attacks from the venerables, although he could not completely block the 2nd attack. The battle between the venerables only lasted for half an hour before the dark spirit corpses retreated towards the spatial passageway. This time, the venerables of the Eastern Xian region were smart. They didn't chase after the dark spirit corpses. Instead, they surrounded and killed the dark spirit corpses that Ho Yuan attacked. When the dark spirit corpse transformed into an energy clone to escape, the few sovereigns used spatial imprisonment together and attacked the dark spirit corpse clones in the imprisonment area. In the end, they managed to kill the unlucky dark spirit corpse before the other dark spirit corpses could arrive. Seeing that their companions were killed, there was no point in trying to save them. The other dark spirit corpses retreated back to the spatial tunnel. Lei Hua and the others also flew back to Broken Cloud Mountain's defensive line. They didn't attack the ordinary dark creatures, as it was meaningless. DN Update, New. The fastest way is from E to H to C. Those who returned all went to Night Sorrow's tent. Is Night Sorrow all right? Lei Hua asked. Governor Qin and Supervisor Lan acted in time. I wasn't injured. Night Sorrow said. That's good. We used you as bait to kill a dark spirit corpse. The effect is pretty good. Qin said. Isn't the risk a little too high? Yang Lei was a little unhappy. After all, Night Sorrow was the bait. Indeed. How about this? Tomorrow, you guys start to rest. We'll be a little more shameless. A few sovereigns will guard the defensive line and 2 sovereigns will control the number of dark creatures. Lei Hua thought for a moment and said, That's fine too. Our cultivators have been fighting for many days. They also need to rest. Qin said. Then, the few of them left Night Sorrow's tent. However, Lan Yuxuan didn't leave. Your situation has already been recorded by the headquarters. Therefore, I have the responsibility to protect your safety. Why didn't you use the bracelet I gave you? Lan Yuxuan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. I have a soft armor that can withstand 2 waves of attacks. If I can't, I'll activate the bracelet. Night Sorrow said. Your life is important, you know? If you use treasures, you can find more. Don't be so greedy. Lan Yuxuan said. Okay, I know. Night Sorrow said with a smile. You're greedy. You don't even use the bracelet when you have one. Lan Yuxuan snorted and left Night Sorrow's tent. She's right. You're a little greedy. Sikong Chiyu said. Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and brewed a pot of tea. We don't have much to do with the following tactical arrangements. We can rest for a while. Then let's cultivate peacefully. I'll also speed up my cultivation. Night Sorrow said. The situation that happened today made the upper echelons of Eastern Xian region change their tactics. It was mainly because the Dark Spirit Corpse's methods broke the previous balance. Lan Yuxuan stayed in the command tent every day. The other sovereigns sealed the defensive line. Qin Nan and Ho Yuan often went out to hunt dark creatures and control their numbers. Once the number of dark creatures increased, it would put pressure on the defensive line of Eastern Xian region. In the human camp, other than the sovereigns, the others were recuperating. After a life-and-death battle, their strength would increase rapidly. Night Sorrow cultivated crazily every day. When he was free, he would go to the front of the defensive line to take a look. The defensive line was much more stable than before. The dark creatures no longer pressed towards them. Qin Nan and Ho Yuan's methods were domineering. With a wave of their hands, they could kill many dark creatures. The Dark Spirit Corpse was also no match for the cultivators of Dongxian. Such stable days lasted for more than 20 days. Night Sorrow's cultivation of the Myriad Dao scripture had improved again. It had reached the 8th level of the consolidation realm. His true qi cultivation was not far from the peak of the 2nd level of the Void Inquiry stage. Night Sorrow's biggest gain was that the energy points of his innate bloodline had stabilized. He could now proceed to strengthen them. At the same time, it was also the opportunity for Night Sorrow to cultivate his innate bloodline. His cultivation of the Myriad Dao scripture had just reached the 8th level of the consolidation realm. It needed to be stabilized. His true qi cultivation was not far from the peak of the 2nd level of the Void Inquiry stage. He could use the spatial crystals and soul crystals to cultivate. After all, absorbing spatial crystals conflicted with cultivating his true qi and the Myriad Dao scripture. After greeting Yang Lei, Ho Jian and Xueling, Night Sorrow began his seclusion. With spatial crystals in one hand and soul crystals in the other, Night Sorrow began his cultivation. The power of the soul needed to be improved and nourished slowly. This could not be rushed. The main reason was that the refining speed was slow. However, Night Sorrow's innate bloodline was domineering. The speed of refining the energy in the spatial crystals was fast. After absorbing a spatial crystal that was half the size of a human head, Night Sorrow finally strengthened the fourth innate bloodline energy point. The completion of the strengthening of his innate bloodline energy made Night Sorrow very happy. The power of the spatial crack that he displayed with 3 innate bloodline energy points was very strong. The power of the spatial crack that he displayed with 4 innate bloodline energy points would be even stronger. Taking the opportunity of catching prey, Night Sorrow displayed the spatial crack. The power of the 4 innate bloodline energy points in Night Sorrow's innate bloodline energy points burst forth and the spatial crack was released. A crescent-shaped energy slash that was visible to the naked eye was slashed forward. Black threads were drawn in the air. Next, the energy slash flew forward and the target ancient tree was directly cut in half from the middle. After finishing the first move, Night Sorrow continued to release a few more moves. Without exception, all of his targets were cut in half. Chapter 453. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? SageNet, providing you with wonderful novels to read. This time, Night Sorrow used 5 spatial splits in a row before his innate bloodline energy was exhausted. Love go little say, W. Chew. Next, Night Sorrow took care of the white bear and 2 antelopes before returning to the campsite and handing them over to the others. After returning to the tent, Night Sorrow took a sip of the tea Yang Lei had brewed and sensed the situation of his innate bloodline energy points. Just like before, the 4 innate bloodline energy points were circulating, strengthening the energy points while charging towards the 5th innate bloodline energy point. I'm very happy. Tell us what you're happy about. Sikong Chiu sat beside Night Sorrow and asked. Yes, the cultivation of my innate bloodline has improved a little. Night Sorrow explained his situation. Yang Lei and Sikong Chiu were both happy for Night Sorrow. In the world of cultivators, there were very few people with innate bloodlines. A bloodline with high lethality like Night Sorrow's was especially rare. It was even rarer that Night Sorrow could cultivate it. After drinking with the Blood Strike Guard, Ho Jian, and the others, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate. Night Sorrow's attitude towards cultivation had influenced the Blood Strike Guard, Ho Jian, and the others. The group was also very active in their cultivation. Currently, the confrontation between the humans and the dark creatures in Broken Cloud Mountain was at a stalemate. The human cultivators couldn't do anything to the dark creatures because they couldn't do anything to the biased spatial channel. Similarly, the dark creatures couldn't cross the blockades set up by the eastern Xian region. Lei Hua and the others had also sent small teams out on missions. However, they only hunted some scattered dark creatures and didn't come into direct contact with them. This was because the dark spiritual corpses were hidden among the dark creatures. The venerables went to control the number of dark creatures, so the dark spiritual corpses couldn't do anything. However, it was very dangerous for cultivators below the venerables to fight the dark creatures. The upper echelons of the eastern Xian region didn't want to suffer such a loss. Yi Shang and the others were also happy to be free. The group would cultivate their combat skills during the day and cultivate their foundations at night. They didn't lack resources in the first place, and with the resources that Yi Shang had given them, it wasn't a problem. Night Sorrow was also happy to see such a scene. His brothers were strong, so they had a strong ability to protect themselves. If not for the dire situation, Yi Shang would have liked to return to the Medicine Valley's Pill Tripod Cliff to cultivate. While he was cultivating Night Sorrow, he was also predicting the war's outcome. The death of the death domain, the death of death and the death of death, the death and the death of the death. The other thing was that the rulers of the death domain rushed out and fought head-on, tearing apart the defensive line and breaking through. However, Night Sorrow felt that the death domain had no chance of winning, unless the guy inside was very powerful. However, this possibility was very small. Since he couldn't grasp the direction of the war, Night Sorrow calmly cultivated. It wasn't suitable for him to leave either. In the second month after arriving at Broken Cloud Mountain, Sikong Chuyu's attributes changed. He directly upgraded from the ordinary water attribute to the sky blue water attribute. 0 original J version. First, the sky blue water attribute was still the water attribute, and it was the ultimate water attribute. This ultimate attribute couldn't suppress the ordinary attributes, but it also couldn't be suppressed by ordinary high-level attributes, unless one also grasped the ultimate attribute of the high-level attributes. When it came to sparring, the Blood Strike Guards and the Tianji Tower team were no match for Sikong Chuyu. Ho Jian, Yang Lei and the others were no match for him because the intensity of their true chi attacks was different. The sky blue water attribute allowed Sikong Chuyu's true chi to be extremely condensed. In addition, Sikong Chuyu also told Yang Lei and Night Sorrow that after attaining the sky blue water attribute, the true chi energy in his body began to change his physique. After the change was complete, he would have the sky blue body. His body's strength and willpower would increase and he would have a greater affinity with the water attribute. This made Night Sorrow and Yang Lei happy for him. The origin stone of the water attribute was a great help to Sikong Chuyu in order to cultivate the sky blue water attribute. In addition, Sikong Chuyu had the potential to cultivate the sky blue water attribute and Wuling Fei's guidance. Only then did he succeed in taking this step. After Sikong Chuyu cultivated the sky blue water attribute, she and Yang Lei both advanced to the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. They had eaten the Void Extreme pills which raised their cultivation bases to the peak of the 3rd level of the Void Inquiry stage for quite some time. Their cultivation bases had stabilized. Naturally, breaking through was a matter of course. At this moment, Night Sorrow had also reached the peak of the 2nd level of the Void Inquiry stage. However, he was not in a hurry to advance. While cultivating his soul power and the energy of the Myriad Tao text, he was also consolidating his true chi cultivation base. Night Sorrow also let Tianyu and the Silver Fox out to play every day. After all the cultivators in the Eastern Profound region knew that they were Night Sorrow's demonic beasts. If anyone was foolish enough to touch these 2 demonic beasts, Night Sorrow would not let them off, let alone the consequences. Under Night Sorrow's constant feeding of the life spirit liquid, Tianyu had already reached the peak of the spirit-severing realm while the Silver Fox had reached the peak of the core formation realm. Both of them were on the verge of advancing. According to the situation of their advancement in the past, Night Sorrow knew that they did not know how long it would take for them to consolidate their strength. Therefore, he was not in a hurry. When the time comes, they would naturally advance. The situation had stabilized. However, there were still people coming to the Eastern Profound region one after another. In the Medicine Valley, all of Night Sorrow's senior martial brothers except for Nan Nan and Aoi had arrived at Broken Cloud Mountain. Nan Nan had to stay in Golden Flame City. As for Aoi, she was not willing to participate in the hunting operation unless she had no other choice. Everyone in the Medicine Valley knew that. Therefore, no one would force her to do so. Because of her personality, she did not compete with the world. Instead, she had gained more respect. Night Sorrow would drink with his senior martial brothers every day when he had nothing to do. It had been a long time since he had last chatted with them. Time slipped away bit by bit. Some people felt a little annoyed staying in the same place but not Night Sorrow. When he felt that he had more or less settled down, Night Sorrow greeted Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu and went into seclusion to break through to the 3rd level of the Void Inquiry stage. After spending a night, Night Sorrow condensed his true chi halo. Next, he stabilized his cultivation base. While stabilizing his cultivation base, Night Sorrow took out the blood essences of ice spirits and soul crystals to assist him in his cultivation. While stabilizing his true chi, he continued to cultivate the Myriad Tao scripture and soul power. This cultivation process lasted for a few days. When the blood essences of ice spirits and soul crystals were all used up, Night Sorrow stopped cultivating. After stretching his body, Night Sorrow walked out of the tent. Sikong Chuyu and Yang Lei were chatting outside the tent while making tea. "You're out." Yang Lei and Night Sorrow greeted each other. "Thank you for guarding the place for me." Night Sorrow sat down on the wooden stool beside Yang Lei. "You don't have to be so courteous with us. Drink some water." Sikong Chuyu poured a cup of water for Night Sorrow and said, Looking at the blood-robed guards, Ho Jian and the others cultivating their combat techniques, Night Sorrow felt very gratified because his brothers were all very motivated. Sure, San, your cultivation base is going to catch up to us soon. Ninth senior sister has been cultivating for a much longer time than you. Yang Lei turned her head to look at Night Sorrow and said, Maybe it's because of my good fortune that I have ample resources. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Chapter 454. Genius remembers love in 1 second divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. I don't think I have any talent, Night Sorrow said after looking at himself. Do you think you can see anything just by looking at it? Talent and aptitude are all unearthed, Sikong Chuyu said with a smile. If it's about talent and bloodline, I can be sure of that. But it's hard to make a conclusion about talent, Night Sorrow said. Everyone's talent for cultivation is different. The speed at which they absorb energy, the width and narrowness of their veins, their compatibility with spiritual energy, and so on. If you don't have talent, it's not reasonable to use hard work and abundant resources to explain your rapid improvement in cultivation, Yang Lei said. This book is first published for free. No subscription required. Group number 332448350. Only cool craftsman readers. Besides, you were born in the Night Moon Dynasty. That's a family of cultivators. Moreover, it's an outstanding family of cultivators. How can your talent be bad? Sikong Chuyu said with a smile. Maybe, but I think that cultivators still need perseverance. This is more important than anything else, Night Sorrow said with a smile. You're right. To stabilize your cultivation, you should eat the void pill and improve your cultivation, Yang Lei said. Night Sorrow nodded. Then he strolled around the campsite and played with Tianyu and Silver Fox. Love go, little, say, can Night Sorrow's eyes. Tianyu and Silver Fox were not monsters. They were partners who could live and die together. Tianyu aside, Silver Fox had been fighting beside Night Sorrow in the previous battle. It had even been stabbed in the back when Night Sorrow blocked the attack of the Dark Zombie. It didn't know that Night Sorrow could block it. It only felt that Night Sorrow was dangerous, so it blocked the attack without hesitation. After playing with Tianyu and Silver Fox for a while and chatting with Qin Jin, Night Sorrow returned to his tent. Then, he took out the Ice Spirit Blood Essence and Soul Crystals and began cultivating. Night Sorrow didn't have much Ice Spirit Blood Essence left. He only had 3 pieces left, including the ones he had. Night Sorrow felt that the Ice Spirit Blood Essence might not be enough to support his cultivation to the Dao Querying Realm, but it wouldn't be too far off. He was now in the middle stage of the 8th level of the Consolidation Realm. At most, he would need half a level of resources. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with the cultivation progress of the Myriad Tao Treasured Book. The main reason was that the Ice Spirit Blood Essence had a good effect. It contained sufficient blood qi and belonged to the same source of energy. Therefore, whether it was absorbing or refining, the speed was very fast. Otherwise, he would be left far behind by his true qi cultivation. After all, Night Sorrow ate 2 elixirs at every major stage of his true qi cultivation. However, the Myriad Tao Treasured Book didn't have such elixirs. If it weren't for the Ice Spirit Blood Essence's effect, the gap between his true qi and the Myriad Tao Treasured Book would be widened. Night Sorrow cultivated, and so did the 2 girls. The Blood Strike Guard, Ho Jian and the others. Ho Jian, Ho Qingjie, Nenliue, Lei Bao, Lei Zheng, and the other sect seniors and juniors were all there. However, they weren't willing to go to the sect. They were willing to stay with Night Sorrow and the brothers of the Blood Strike Guard. After another cultivation session, Night Sorrow went to the Medicine Valley area. As the Great Elder was here, Night Sorrow had to pay his respects. After paying his respects to the Great Elder, Night Sorrow asked about the Void Fiendish Spaces passageway. You can't enter anymore. For some reason, the energy coming from the passageway conflicted with the energy of our world. The passageway has collapsed, the Great Elder said. Upon hearing this news, Night Sorrow felt a little more at ease. With the Void Fate Jewel, Night Sorrow treated the void fiendish space like his own backyard. When others could enter, he felt a little conflicted. Now that he heard that others couldn't enter, he felt a little more at ease. After returning to his own camp, Night Sorrow asked Ho Jian and Lei Bao to go back to their respective sects to confirm the news. The news that Ho Jian and Lei Bao brought back proved that the void fiendish space was sealed. All the known passageways had collapsed, and they had entered. Night Sorrow wasn't worried about whether he could enter or not. As long as he could completely refine the void fate jewel, he could enter the void fiendish space whenever he wanted. Spatial barriers wouldn't be a problem. After that, Night Sorrow told Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu about the void fiendish space. That's great. As long as you can control the void fate jewel, the void fiendish space will be your backyard. You'll be invincible in there. When the time comes, we'll set up our home there, Yang Lei said excitedly. I don't know how long it'll take. I've been using my soul power to nourish it. I believe that one day I'll succeed, Night Sorrow said with a nod. Night Sorrow, your biggest strength is your good attitude. You can face anything with a calm heart. You must always maintain this attitude, Sikong Chuyu said. Let's not talk about me. How are you two doing? Do you have enough resources? Right. Here are 2 storage rings. Night Sorrow took out Feng Chen and Lushan Knight's storage rings and gave one each to Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu. Night Sorrow had already transferred all his resources into the Dark Spirit Saint's storage ring. You have a storage ring on your hand? Where did you get so many? Yang Lei asked curiously. Night Sorrow didn't mention that he had met the Dark Spirit Saint and Life Saintess in the Death Space. Take a look. I think the storage space in these 2 storage rings is bigger than normal. They're better than the ones you're using now, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow had already removed the ownership of the storage rings. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu quickly completed the process. It's really big. It's 3 times bigger than mine, Yang Lei said. Mine too. Sikong Chuyu nodded. That's good. A bigger space means more resources can be stored. It's more convenient, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then the storage ring on your hand must be of a higher grade? Sikong Chuyu looked at Night Sorrow's ring and asked. I got it by accident. The space is indeed bigger. Yi Shan was most satisfied with the space in these 2 storage rings. How big is bigger? Sikong Chuyu asked curiously. Tell the truth. Night Sorrow asked as he touched the storage ring. Translator, Nyoibo Studio Editor, Nyoibo Studio, are you saying that you're going to lie to us? Yang Lei reached out to grab Night Sorrow's ear. Yang Lei's hand grabbed Night Sorrow's ear. However, Night Sorrow's ear emitted energy and bounced Yang Lei's hand away. Why would I lie to you? This storage ring is more than 10 times bigger than the one I gave you. It's as empty as a warehouse, Night Sorrow said. You win. You must have something you didn't tell us. However, we won't force you. You must have your reasons for doing this. Sikong Chuyu looked at Night Sorrow and nodded slightly. I'll tell you when it's appropriate. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that it wasn't important whether he told them or not. The ancient investiture of the gods involved too many things. If he told them, it might increase their knowledge, but it would also bring some pressure. Chapter 455. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow looked at Sikong Chuyu and then at Yang Lei. It's nothing. I'll tell you about it. Night Sorrow then told him about his encounter with the Dark Spirit Saint and the Life Saintess. How shameless. You still want to possess my body? Yang Lei cursed. You can't say that she's shameless. That's just the way cultivators do things. It's the law of the jungle. She's capable of possessing someone's body, but she's just unlucky. Night Sorrow said. Sikong Chuyu said with a smile, Luck? She's an old woman who's about to fall. If she wants to fight to the death with a rising star like you, the heavens won't be on her side. Of course, this is only in terms of luck. If it were anyone else, she would just crush them with her soul and possess them. This is the probability. 1 in 10,000 or 1 in a million. She's really unlucky. After worrying for Night Sorrow, Yang Lei's heart was filled with emotions. After all, it wasn't impossible for someone to have a heavenly fate jewel to protect their deity ocean, but the chances were extremely low. This is her bad luck to have met me. If she had met someone else, she would have definitely succeeded. If she had succeeded in taking over someone else's body, as long as she hides for a period of time, it would definitely be a disaster when she comes out. Night Sorrow sighed in his heart, because if the life saintess succeeded in taking over someone else's body, it would be a serious problem. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao, say, www.taichuexis.com. The dark spirit saint could also possess someone, but he didn't, so he had a chance to reincarnate. He followed the heavens, but the life saintess went against the heavens, so she dug her own grave. Sikong Chuyu, like Night Sorrow, respected the dark spirit saint. I've always felt that there's something wrong with the investiture of the gods that we don't know about. Perhaps there's some big secret hidden. For example, the dark spirit saint is from our 9 regions world, but I don't understand what's going on with the life saintess. In addition, the dark spirit saint said that it was a group of cultivators who were unwilling to be oppressed. Who was oppressing them? Night Sorrow explained his doubts. Since he had already told them about the death space, Night Sorrow didn't hide anything. Besides, he could see that it didn't affect the 2 girls. Don't worry about it. We just need to live well. What's the matter? If there's something, there's a venerable above. Yang Lei said indifferently. 9th senior sister's heart is so big, just like your chest. Sikong Chuyu stretched out her hand and patted Yang Lei's chest. What's wrong? No, Chuyu, are you jealous? Yang Lei smiled and looked at Sikong Chuyu with a strange gaze. What am I jealous of? 13, do you think I need to be jealous? Sikong Chuyu puffed out his chest and looked at Night Sorrow. Each has their own merits. What's the difference? After saying that each has their own merits, Night Sorrow was a bit confused. After becoming women, Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu were different from before. Each has their own merits. 13, you still have good taste. Not bad. Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said, 9th senior sister, don't hit me like that. I'm embarrassed, and you guys don't feel comfortable looking at me, right? Night Sorrow said with some embarrassment. Comfortable? Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu both nodded. This made Night Sorrow smile. Because of harmony in the family. You're still very happy. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said with a smile. Very happy. Having you too, I'm very happy. I like this feeling very much. Night Sorrow stretched out his hands and said as he held the 2 girls' hands. The 2 girls nodded. Their words just now were to let Night Sorrow relax. After chatting for a while, the 3 of them began to meditate and cultivate. After cultivating for many years in the past, Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu's passion for cultivation had already faded. However, their interest in cultivation had been reignited recently. Because of the unlimited resources, their cultivation had improved quickly. It was completely different from before, when their cultivation had not improved significantly. After cultivating for half a day and one night, Night Sorrow woke up early to cultivate his spear techniques. You're in good shape. Gong Xian came over and directly threw a storage belt to Night Sorrow. Eldest senior brother, come and sit inside. Night Sorrow brought Gong Xian into the tent. Night Sorrow was especially respectful towards Gong Xian, his eldest senior brother. Your 6th senior sister asked the first elder to bring it to you. The first elder has been busy with the battle of the Medicine Valley disciples and actually forgot about it. He only remembered it today. Gong Xian said with a smile. 6th senior sister still remembers me. Night Sorrow smiled and kept the storage belt. Your cultivation speed is simply indescribable. Eldest senior brother is also stimulated by you. Gong Xian sized up Night Sorrow and said. Currently, Gong Xian was also at the peak of the 3rd level of the Void Inquiry stage. He felt that his cultivation speed was very fast. However, Night Sorrow and the other 2 had already caught up with him. Eldest senior brother, you must be joking. Is there any problem in the Medicine Valley? Night Sorrow asked. Very good. There were some injuries some time ago. Only 2 people lost their lives. It's much better than the other sections. Gong Xian nodded at Night Sorrow. After chatting with Night Sorrow for a while, Gong Xian went back. Recently, he had been stabilizing his cultivation and was preparing to break through to the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. Night Sorrow opened his storage belt and saw some wine, a few stacks of robes and a few stacks of silk skirts. After taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow kept the wine and the robes into his storage ring. Then he passed the silk skirts to Yang Lei. "Shirsen, I miss 6th senior sister a little," Yang Lei said while wiping the corners of her eyes. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, 9th senior sister, we'll go back after we're done with the things we have on hand. Night Sorrow patted Yang Lei's shoulder and said, "All right. These are for you." Yang Lei gave one of the stacks to Sikong Chuyu and 2 stacks of silk skirts. Aoi prepared them for the 3 of them. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow went out of the tent and played with Tianyu and the silver fox. After being intimate with Night Sorrow for a while, Tianyu's body trembled. Then, he went to Night Sorrow's tent and lay down beside it without moving. Advancement. It's going to advance. Night Sorrow looked at Tianyu who was lying down in surprise. It's trying to break through to the 5th level. Its growth speed is really shocking. It's as heaven-defying as Shirsan. Yang Lei sighed with emotion because there was no 5th level mount in the entire Medicine Valley. The dark feathered eagle was the first one. The current structure of the Medicine Valley had expanded. If it was in the past, they would definitely pay attention to the appearance of a 5th level demonic beast with self-awareness. Night Sorrow went to Tianyu's side and poured 2 drops of origin spiritual fluid into the gap between Tianyu's beak. He was worried about Tianyu, so he wanted to do everything he could for Tianyu. Demonic beasts have feelings when they advance. If we're not sure, they won't advance. We just have to guard Tianyu, Sikong Chuyu said to Night Sorrow. She could feel that Night Sorrow's emotions were fluctuating. Night Sorrow nodded and sat down cross-legged with Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu to guard Tianyu. Soon after, the members of the Blood Strike Guard joined them. Night Sorrow is heaven-defying. Even his mount is so abnormal, Qi Nen said from afar. Chapter 456. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go Divided by Shao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Logically speaking, this demonic beast shouldn't have appeared because no such beast has ever appeared in the eastern Xian region. How did it come about? Qi Nan had doubts in his heart. There is one possibility. An ancient beast egg. In other words, it could be a newly unearthed ancient beast egg. It was originally in some alternate space or spatial crack. Due to the change in the environment, it appeared, Lei Hu said. That's possible. The green rock and the black yuan are both ancient beasts. Both bloodlines are heaven-defying, let alone 2. Let's see what this guy will become after he evolves. Lan Yushuan was also looking forward to Tianyu's evolution. The most nervous person was Night Sorrow. His gaze was fixed on Tianyu. He was even more nervous than his own evolution. He knew what was going on, but he didn't know what was going on with Tianyu's evolution. Time slipped away bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Tianyu's evolution was relatively slow. However, the flow of energy on his body was getting stronger and stronger. It could even be said that it was rushing in all directions. Night Sorrow, Yang Lei, Sikong Chuyu, the Blood Strike Guards, and Ho Jian, who were guarding him, had to put some distance between them. Suddenly, the energy on Tianyu's body surged. Green energy surged and churned violently. The scene was very shocking. Baidu search AI Go female sign Shao, say, www.taichuexis. At this moment, the sky darkened, and a dark cloud appeared in the sky without anyone noticing. 13. This is bad. It's a lightning tribulation. Yang Lei's expression changed. Why would there be a lightning tribulation? Night Sorrow was a little anxious. He was very worried about Tianyu. When a heaven-defying demonic beast evolves, there will be a heavenly Tao test. When a flood dragon evolves into a dragon, there will be a lightning tribulation. When a human venerable becomes a saint, there will also be a lightning tribulation, Sikong Chuyu said as he looked at the dark cloud in the sky. Don't worry, we have to believe in Tianyu. He can do it. Yang Lei said as she grabbed Night Sorrow's shoulder. At this moment, Tianyu's aura changed again. Gray energy appeared within the green energy. The second attribute, space attribute. This is an advanced attribute. Sikong Chiyu said in surprise. At this moment, Lan Yushuan's people were also extremely shocked. A demonic beast that was in the process of evolving had activated a high-level attribute. Such a thing was almost unheard of, triggering a lightning tribulation and the appearance of a high-grade elemental attribute. This demonic beast is going to overturn the heavens, Qin said. Tianyu's curled-up body stretched out, and he let out a long roar towards the sky. Following that, a bright light burst out from his body, and his aura rose from the peak of the Type 4 realm to the Type 5 realm. Then, it continued to rise, Type 5 Level 1, Type 5 Level 2. At this moment, there was a thunderclap in the sky, and a purple lightning bolt struck down at Tianyu. At this time, Tianyu stood up, and the energy in his body turned into a shadow that was similar to him and rushed into the sky. Asterisk bang asterisk with a loud explosion, Tianyu's shadow collided with the lightning bolt. Then they canceled each other out. Dark clouds rolled in the sky. After rolling for a while, they dispersed, and the sky became clear again. After letting out another roar and taking a glance at Night Sorrow, Tianyu lay down and stopped moving. He was stabilizing his cultivation base. Originally, he could still improve his cultivation base. However, he was interrupted by the lightning tribulation and could only advance to the second level of the void inquiry stage. He's still underage? Yang Lei's eyes stared straight at Tianyu. Yes. The energy is still flowing to every part of his body. Sikong Chiyu nodded. Night Sorrow did not pay attention to that. What he was concerned about was Tianyu's safety. The energy in Tianyu's body flowed towards his beak and claws while he was lying on the ground. Those were his attacking parts during battles. Every time he advanced, they would be strengthened. Just as Night Sorrow was inspecting his body, a spiritual wave appeared in his mind, comforting Night Sorrow and telling him to be at ease. After being stunned for a while, Night Sorrow knew that it was Tianyu's spiritual wave. It was telling him to be at ease. 13. This Tianyu's achievement isn't just at the peak of the 5th rank. He's still underage. Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said, "As long as he's safe and sound, that's more important than anything else." After confirming that Tianyu was fine, Night Sorrow felt a lot more at ease. Lan Yushuan and the others also returned to the tent. Y update 0 new MT is the fastest unspecified currency on. Its master is heaven-defying and its mount is also horny. It's already at the 5th rank but it's still underage. Won't it become a venerable realm demonic beast in the future? It's even a high-level one. Ho Yuan said with some emotion. In the 9 regions and 18 states, there are many venerable realm demonic beasts. However, they've all gone through countless years of cultivation after reaching adulthood. However, Night Sorrow's mount directly charged all the way to the 5th rank. At the same time, it still retains its potential. When it enters the venerable realm in the future, it'll also be one of the best in the venerable realm, Lan Yushuan said. It's really quite impressive. Today's matter will affect the dark creatures. We should be careful and not be ambushed by them, Lei Ho reminded everyone. Night Sorrow held a wine jar and stood not far from Tianyu. He looked at Tianyu while drinking. The tension in his heart finally relaxed. You should also rest for a while. Tianyu's side is fine, Sikong Chiyu said as he came to Night Sorrow's side. All right, I'll go cultivate too. Night Sorrow finished the wine jar in one gulp. After returning to the tent, Night Sorrow took out the void elixir and ate it. Then, he took the ice spirit blood essence and the spirit crystal and started cultivating. Night Sorrow cultivated quietly. However, the commotion caused by Tianyu's breakthrough was still ongoing. The disciples of the other sects wanted to take a closer look at Tianyu, but they were all blocked by the blood strike guards. Yang Lei and Sikong Chiyu were still the same. They cultivated like Night Sorrow every night and cultivated their combat skills during the day. The situation on Broken Cloud Mountain was stable for human cultivators below the Venerable realm. However, Venerables went out to battle every day. Even if the dark creatures retreated, they would send Venerables to kill them and control the number of dark creatures. Otherwise, when the dark creatures accumulate to tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands and charge at them, the human defense line would not be able to withstand it. Night Sorrow cultivated for 5 days and directly raised his true chi cultivation to the peak of the 3rd level of the Void Inquiry stage. His Myriad Dao treasure tome had also reached the peak of the 8th level of the Consolidation realm. However, the Ice Spirit Blood essence in his hand had also turned into a useless rock. After stretching his body, Night Sorrow walked out of the tent. Night Sorrow was not prepared when he walked out of the tent. He was almost knocked down by Tianyu, who rubbed his big head against him. "You grow really fast." Night Sorrow rubbed Tianyu's head while feeling a little emotional. It was also because Tianyu lowered his head that Night Sorrow could touch his head. Otherwise, he would not have been able to reach it. After breaking through to the 5th level, Tianyu's height was about 1.5 zhang tall. His body was about 1.5 zhang in diameter and 10 zhang in length. His body was full of streamlined beauty. What made Tianyu different from other flying demonic beasts was his 2 legs and sharp claws. Other flying demonic beasts had longer claws, but their legs were very bony and thin. Chapter 457. Genius Remembers Love in 1 second/small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Tianyu's head bumped into Night Sorrow. At the same time, Night Sorrow's mind also sent out waves of energy. Night Sorrow easily understood that Tianyu wanted him to get on his back. Night Sorrow called out to Silver Fox and then jumped onto Tianyu's back. Silver Fox's speed was also very fast. As soon as Night Sorrow landed on Tianyu's back, Silver Fox also pounced at Night Sorrow's feet. Tianyu's wings flapped and rose into the sky. A protective energy shield appeared on his body. When the protective energy shield covered Night Sorrow and Silver Fox, Tianyu's body rushed out. Night Sorrow did not find any traces of flying. It was as if he was traveling through space. While Night Sorrow was surprised, Tianyu flew rapidly again. Night Sorrow confirmed that Tianyu's flight did have a blank period. In other words, when he was flying at high speed, he was traveling through space without a trace. At this time, Night Sorrow's mind sent out waves of energy. Although it was not a language, the message was very clear. Tianyu told Night Sorrow that this was a unique skill he learned after reaching rank 5. It was a skill that used space energy to perform space travel. However, it consumed a lot of energy and could not be used for a long time. Space energy. It was also a natural ability. Space travel was Tianyu's natural ability. After flying in the sky for a while and catching a giant python, Tianyu brought Night Sorrow and Silver Fox back to the camp. After landing, Tianyu crushed the giant python's head with his claws. Then, with a sharp peck, he cut open the giant python's stomach and ate the giant python's gallbladder. To think that a Tier 4 giant python couldn't even put up the slightest bit of resistance. Tianyu's combat prowess is truly impressive, Ho Jian lamented. Tianyu has the bloodline of the Azure Rock. After he advanced, the power of his bloodline is very obvious. He has a natural suppression against serpent beasts. Plus, there is a gap between their cultivation levels. So, there is no point in fighting, Night Sorrow said. Next, Ho Jian and the others cleaned up the 2,000 to 3,000 caddies python and roasted it over the fire. Night Sorrow returned to the tent after helping Tianyu comb the feathers on his neck. At this time, Yang Lei and Sikong Chu were practicing carving. They didn't have the ability to increase their soul power like Night Sorrow, so they could only rely on sculpting to increase their soul power. "You're back. Did you have fun playing with Tianyu?" Yang Lei's jade-like hands trembled as she finished the carving in her hands. Tianyu is too powerful. He actually has the ability to travel through space. Although the distance isn't very far, this move is very heaven-defying, Night Sorrow said as he brewed a pot of tea. Tianyu has the space attribute. In addition to his strong combat prowess, it is very difficult to defeat him unless one is a venerable. With just his speed, he is invincible. Sikong Chuyu also finished carving the jade statue in his hands. Night Sorrow looked at the carvings in Yang Lei and Sikong Chiyu's hands and said, "Give these two to me. I believe that I will carve a better one. I will carve the most perfect one for you." Yang Lei shook her head and said, "I think so too." Sikong Chiyu nodded, expressing the same thoughts as Yang Lei. Then Yang Lei and Sikong Chiyu exchanged carvings. Almost at the same time, they directly shattered the carvings into pieces. "What are you two doing?" Night Sorrow looked at the two girls with some surprise. "What's the point of keeping them? If word gets out, will you be happy?" Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. "Not happy. I just feel that it's a pity," Night Sorrow said. At the same time, he understood what the two girls meant. Exchanging carvings and destroying them was a sign of respect. After all, destroying someone else's carvings was disrespectful. But there was no point in keeping them. After all, as one's carving skills improved, the carvings would also become better. The three of them drank tea and chatted. Night Sorrow had just finished his cultivation and needed to relax. "Night Sorrow, although your tea brewing skills are not as good as Chuyu's, it's still an improvement," Yang Lei said. "Hee, it's fine as long as there's something to drink. Why are you so picky?" Night Sorrow shook his head helplessly. "You can only improve if I'm strict with you. Isn't that right?" Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder and said, "Yes, Ninth Senior Sister, you win." Night Sorrow poured himself a cup of tea and said with a smile, "Brewing tea is also a kind of knowledge. It can calm the heart and cultivate one's character. It can be considered a kind of cultivation of the mind." Sikong Chiyu said, "I understand. I'll be the tea master for the two of you in the future," Night Sorrow said with a smile. Mosen B6, Section J, the current 13 has changed a lot. I clearly remember the first time I saw him. He was just a child. He looked a little weak, and his frown made one's heart ache. When I had the thought of liking him, I felt guilty. Yang Lei spoke of her feelings in a low voice. "Yes, who would look at a child like Night Sorrow now? Yi Shang is already a young talent whose name shakes a region," Sikong Chuyu said. "Chuyu, I originally planned to go to the Qingtian region to find you after I reached the 4th level. Later, when you came to the Eastern Xian region, I decided to go to the Qingtian region's Sikong clan to propose marriage when I reached the 5th level. However, plans can never keep up with changes," Night Sorrow said apologetically. "What's the difference? Didn't you bully me?" Sikong Chiyu said with a red face. "Of course there's a difference. I want to propose marriage openly." Night Sorrow said, "I'll wait for you. However, we're already together. There's no need to rush." Sikong Chiyu shook his head. "That's right. At most, I'll give them a little grandson. If they don't believe me, who will say anything?" Yang Lei pulled Sikong Chiyu's arm and said with a smile, "Ninth Senior Sister, you're too direct. However, it's also a solution." Sikong Chiyu glared at Yang Lei and said, "You guys have too little confidence in me. As long as I don't die, I can definitely do what I want to do." Night Sorrow said, "Hey, what are you talking about? You're not even 20 years old, but you're already at the peak of the 3rd level of the Void Inquiry stage. What kind of concept is that? As long as the Sikong clan investigates it, they will have to consider it carefully." Yang Lei said, "There's another thing that's been weighing on my mind. After Tianyu showed his talent, I realized that the problem wasn't simple." Night Sorrow said, "What is it? Tell me." Sikong Chiyu asked, "Do any of you know Taichuan?" Night Sorrow thought for a moment and asked, "Taichuan? I know this name, but I'm not sure if it's the same one I'm talking about." Yang Lei thought for a moment and said. Yang Lei then explained in detail what she knew. Taichuan was an ancient space that was even older than the ancient investiture of the Gods' War. It was an ancient battlefield where the cultivators of the 9 zones fought against cultivators from the outside world. However, that space has been shattered. Yang Lei took a sip of tea after explaining the details and came to a conclusion. Chapter 458. Genius 1 second. Remember love go divided by Shao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Why do you think so? Yang Lei stood up in surprise. She knew that Night Sorrow never lied. Baidu search AI go female sign Shao, say, www.taichuexis.com. The Holy Cauldron scripture of our Medicine Valley was found by me from there. My Myriad Tao treasure book was also obtained from there. Do you understand? Yi Shang asked. I know a little about Taichuan. Tell me, what do you know? Sikong Chiu looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Night Sorrow told him what he had encountered. That's not right. According to the records in the Medicine Valley has a history of 7,000 years. The War of the Gods happened 10,000 years ago, not to mention the ancient battlefield that was much older than the War of the Gods. It doesn't match at all, Yang Lei said, shaking her head. Ninth senior sister, the Medicine Valley has a history of 7,000 years, but it might not be only 7,000 years. Something might have happened, and the inheritance might have been broken. Feng Chen claimed to be an elder of the Medicine Valley, so it can't be wrong. Love God Shao say, Chu Sikong Chiu said. There's another possibility, which is that there was a problem with Taichuan, and the ancestors of the Medicine Valley happened to discover it and then went to guard it. It's impossible to calculate the time. It could be 6,000 years ago or 3,000 years ago. Who knows? Yi Shang said. That's possible. Yang Lei nodded. She felt that Night Sorrow's analysis was reasonable. I suspect that Tianyu came from Taichuan. Otherwise, where would such a strange beast with an ancient bloodline come from? Night Sorrow speculated. Whatever you say is possible. We don't know what the hell the nether beast is, but it doesn't matter. If there was a problem, it would have happened long ago. We don't need to worry about it, Sikong Chiu said. Then let's not think about it. Let's focus on the problem at hand. Night Sorrow knew that he was worrying for nothing. Taichuan is an ancient battlefield, one that existed even before the ancient war of investiture of the gods. There's nothing to think about. As for the matter at hand, let the Venerable One think about it. We just have to work hard and cultivate, Sikong Chiu said. First LD Hair W. That's true. We think too highly of ourselves. Some things have nothing to do with us, Night Sorrow said after taking a sip of tea. After chatting for a while, Yi Shang went to the command tent and greeted a few of the upper echelons of the Eastern Xian region. When they saw Night Sorrow, Lei Hua and the others were very polite. First of all, Night Sorrow's cultivation wasn't low. If this continued, he would rise very quickly. Secondly, there was the problem of identity and status. In the eyes of Lei Hua, Ho Yuan, and Lan Yushuan, Night Sorrow had to be treated as an equal. This was because once Night Sorrow officially became a celestial emissary of the Tianji Tower, his status would surpass theirs. As for the people of the City Lord Mansion, they weren't stupid either. They all knew how Wu Lingfei treated Night Sorrow. After coming out of the command tent, Night Sorrow went to the Medicine Valley and chatted with the Great Elder, Gong Xian, and the others for a while before returning to the tent. You're back. Yang Lei nodded at Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. Senior Lei and the others said that it's fine to maintain the current situation. Another thing is that the City Lord Mansion destroyed one of the GU family's outposts. They hid it well, but if the City Lord Mansion wants to investigate, they won't be able to hide it. Ai Go Shao say, Chu Night Sorrow said. The GU family has been developing very fast in recent years. They're quite powerful. If they want to expand their influence, they have to expand to other regions, Sikong Chiu said. How powerful is the GU family? Night Sorrow asked curiously. They're the most powerful family in the Qingtian region, which is ranked relatively high among the 9 regions. In other words, the 7 superpowers of the Eastern Xian region may not be a match for the GU family even if they joined forces. Sikong Chiu thought for a while and explained the situation of the GU family. They're so powerful, Night Sorrow said in surprise. They're an old family that has been around for countless years. They have a deep foundation and many venerables. Therefore, the forces of the Eastern Xian region can't compare to them. Sikong Chiu introduced the GU family to Night Sorrow and Yang Lei. No matter how powerful they are, I won't let them go. Night Sorrow clenched her fists and said, "Let's not talk about this anymore. I'm a little annoyed." Yang Lei said. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow went to chat and drink with Ho Jian and the others. Night Sorrow relaxed for 2 days. He had just taken the Void Elixir and improved his cultivation, so he needed to relax. The way to relax was to drink tea, drink wine, and walk around casually. This was not a suitable place for Night Sorrow to be intimate with the two girls. The soul power of Venerables was very strong. It enveloped the entire campsite. Nothing that happened in the campsite could escape their detection. Night Sorrow naturally didn't dare to do anything overboard. After resting and relaxing, Night Sorrow began to cultivate. While he stabilized his true chi cultivation, he cultivated the myriad Daos treasured tome and increased his soul power. At the same time, he cultivated his innate bloodline power. On this day, Night Sorrow was just cultivating when he was interrupted by a muffled sound. At this time, a great battle broke out in the sky above the defensive line. It was a full-scale battle between the Dark Spirit corpses. The battle was very intense. The Dark Spirit Corps commander in the lead was very strong. Lei Hua couldn't handle it alone. Then, Lan Yuxuan took action. The two of them attacked together and stabilized the situation. However, they were still at a disadvantage. Night Sorrow, what's going on? Why are there so many Dark Spirit corpses? Yang Lei looked at the sky with some astonishment. A very strong Dark Spirit Corps has appeared. It should be the Dark Spirit Corps commander. Its single combat power has already surpassed the strongest person on our side. Night Sorrow, whose soul power enveloped the battlefield, discovered the problem. At this time, the strongest person on the battlefield wasn't Lei Hua, but the Dark Spirit Corps wearing black armor. Ho Jian Xueling, come here. Night Sorrow shouted at Ho Jian and Xueling, "Captain!" Ho Jian and Xueling hurried over. "This is serious. You guys lead the team well. Ninth Senior Sister, lend me the black-feathered eagle. I will use the two mounts alternately. Use the fastest speed to report back." Night Sorrow gave some instructions and shouted at Yang Lei. Yang Lei nodded and threw the beast-taming crystal to Night Sorrow. "Remember, safety first. If our sovereigns can't handle it, don't say anything else. Just retreat." Night Sorrow flashed onto Tianyu's back and rode Tianyu towards Star Cloud City. Night Sorrow could activate the Phantom Stone Pearl that Wu Lingfei gave him, but he didn't think it was that bad. As long as Lei Hua and Lan Yuxuan didn't lose, the dark creatures wouldn't be able to attack. Night Sorrow controlled Tianyu and flew quickly towards Star Cloud City. After flying for an hour, Yishan found that he and Tianyu had been imprisoned. Not far in front of him was Wu Lingfei, who was wearing a white robe and a light veil and wearing a golden mask. "Auntie Fei, I was just about to inform you," Night Sorrow said. "Vice Palace Master Lei has informed Auntie Fei to keep the mounts." "Let's go now," Wu Lingfei said. Wu Lingfei said. She waved her arm, and energy wrapped around Night Sorrow, who had put away his mount, and they flew towards Broken Cloud Mountain. "Auntie Fei, that guy is very strong. Senior Lei and Supervisor Lan can't get the upper hand." Night Sorrow said worriedly. "As long as they don't go back, Auntie Fei will kill them." Wu Lingfei said coldly. Tianyu had been flying at top speed for an hour, but Wu Lingfei had covered the distance in just a moment. Chapter 459. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. In the Battle of the Venerables, the Eastern Xian region side was completely at a disadvantage. The main reason was that the strongest Lei Hua and Lan Yuxuan were completely suppressed by the strongest Dark Spirit Corps commander. It wouldn't be long before they were defeated. How audacious! Since you've come to attack, then die. Lei Hua, Lan Yuxuan, you two go somewhere else. Don't let them retreat. After speaking, Wu Lingfei's body flashed and appeared above the head of the Dark Spirit Corps commander that Lei Hua and Lan Yuxuan were attacking. Then she sent out a palm strike. Wu Lingfei's palm strike didn't cause as much of an explosion as Lei Hua and Lan Yuxuan's attacks. However, The area covered by her jade-like hand had turned into a world of ice. This dark spirit corpse wearing black armor was also wrapped in ice. It could be said that it was directly frozen. The dark spirit corpse let out a low roar and the ice was broken. However, Wu Lingfei's second palm came and froze it again. Wu Lingfei continued to attack, and the dark spirit corpse commander was constantly frozen and shaken, its aura plummeting. Die! After freezing the dark spirit corpse commander once again, Wu Lingfei's body flickered, and she arrived in front of the ice block where the dark spirit corpse commander was sealed, and pressed out with her palm again. Wu Lingfei's palm was no longer filled with white cold qi. Instead, it was filled with light green energy that was brimming with vitality. Love, go little, say, could the energy of this palm hit the dark spiritual corpse commander that had just shaken off the ice seal. There was no sound. The dark spirit zombie commander instantly disintegrated. Its armor didn't shatter, and neither did its blade. However, its body shattered into bits and pieces. What kind of attack is this? Yang Lei, who was standing beside Night Sorrow, asked in surprise. Life energy attacks just happened to counter the death attribute. Night Sorrow's eyes were also filled with shock. Wu Ling concubine was unbelievably strong. The dark spirit corpse that had suppressed Lei Hua and Lan Yuxuan for half a day was killed in a few palms. After killing this dark spirit corpse commander, Wu Lingfei's body flashed as she charged towards another dark spirit corpse. She continued to freeze it and then killed it with a palm strike. After the two dark spirit corpses were killed, the other dark spirit corpses used their own methods to escape. However, there was another unlucky dark spirit corpse that was caught up by Wu Lingfei after killing the second dark spirit corpse. After freezing it with a few palms, she easily killed it. After killing the three dark spirit corpses, Wu Lingfei didn't continue the chase. She flashed and landed beside Night Sorrow. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao, say, www.taichuxis.com, Auntie Fei, you are too overbearing. Night Sorrow said excitedly. Originally, I couldn't be bothered to deal with them. Our Eastern Xin region is also training our soldiers, but I didn't expect them to have such thoughts and want to fight their way in. Wu Lingfei's words were filled with disdain and confidence. After a while, Lei Hua, Lan Yuxuan, Qin Nan, Ho Yuan, and the others returned. Their complexions weren't too good. When they arrived in front of Wu Lingfei, they bowed and said, "Sorry to disappoint, Lord." They ran into the spatial tunnel. It's nothing. Stabilize the situation and follow the old plan. This Lord will stay here. If they have the ability, then charge. Wu Lingfei threw down these words and then waved her hand at the others. Lei Hua and the others bowed and left to prepare the defense. Let's go. Go and make a pot of tea for Auntie Fei. Wu Lingfei turned and said to Night Sorrow. Oh, send a CD. Night Sorrow nodded and brought Wu Lingfei into the tent. Yang Lei and Sikong Chu also followed. Holding the tea that Night Sorrow made, Wu Lingfei played with the teacup and pondered. Then, Lord, please take a seat. We will go out for a walk. Yang Lei and Sikong Chu stood up. Wu Lingfei was wearing a mask, so she couldn't drink tea. However, she didn't intend to take off her mask. Sit. You are all Night Sorrow's people. Some things can't be hidden forever. Wu Lingfei said and took off her mask. This lord is the Tower Lord of Tianji Tower in front of others. However, I am also the City Lord of Dongshen City. When I am in charge of Tianji Tower, I wear a mask. When I am in charge of the City Lord Manor, I wear a veil. Only a few people know of this lord's identity. In fact, it's not that I am afraid of being exposed. I just don't want to be involved in too many things. Wu Lingfei said while drinking tea. Lord, don't worry. We are not people with big mouths. Yang Lei said. At this time, she was still shocked by Wu Lingfei's stunning beauty. Night Sorrow, why didn't you activate the spirit orb that Auntie Fei gave you? Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Didn't Auntie Fei say that I should only activate it when my life is in danger? The situation just now was quite urgent, but it wasn't to the point where my life was in danger. Night Sorrow said the reason why he didn't activate it. You're right. These things are Eastern Xin region's matters. Auntie Fei gave you the spirit orb, which is for your personal use. If it is not necessary, you can't activate it. Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and said, Night Sorrow understands. Night Sorrow nodded. You two also sit down. If you don't mind, you can call this lord the same way as Night Sorrow. Although this lord's face is young, I didn't take advantage of you. Wu Lingfei looked at Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu and said, Auntie Fei is joking. Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu both nodded. Your sky blue water attribute has been activated, and it has also begun to strengthen your body. This is the effect of an ultimate attribute. This lord's profound jade body is also based on the same principle as yours. Wu Lingfei looked at Sikong Chuyu and said, Many thanks for Auntie Fei's guidance. Sikong Chuyu bowed to Wu Lingfei. It's nothing. Your name is Yang Lei, right? You don't need to worry. Every attribute has an ultimate attribute, and the thunder attribute is the same. Whether you can comprehend it or not depends on the opportunity. When the opportunity arrives, it naturally won't be a problem. The thunder attribute is also divided into two types. One is the purple flame thunder attribute, and the other is the black demon thunder attribute. The former belongs to the gentler side of the thunder attribute and contains vitality. It is like an ancient tree that can still be reborn after being struck by lightning. This is the purple flame thunder attribute, and the black demon thunder attribute is destructive. If you have the opportunity, you should also walk the former path. Wu Lingfei looked at Yang Lei and said, Many thanks for Auntie Fei's advice. Yang Lei stood up and cupped her hands. You don't need to be so polite. Night Sorrow, later on, you will prepare a tent for Auntie Fei. During this time, Auntie Fei will cultivate here. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Good, I will prepare it for Auntie Fei in a moment. Night Sorrow came out of the tent and said to Ho Jian before returning to the tent. Your cultivation has increased, but at this stage, you must advance steadily. Wu Lingfei reminded Night Sorrow again. Is Auntie Fei's cultivation progressing well? Night Sorrow asked. He already understood Wu Lingfei's level. Wu Lingfei's goal was to break through to the sage realm and become a sage. If she could take this step, then the problem of the death space would be solved. How should I say it? If I forcefully break through, there is a chance. But if I have time to settle down, it will be better. Besides, I am not in a hurry now. Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Auntie Fei, what is the level of the dark spirit corpse today? Night Sorrow thought for a moment and asked. It is indeed very strong. It is at the late stage of the sage realm. Because its attribute suppresses Lei Hua and the others, and its cultivation is higher, Lei Hua and the others couldn't withstand it. Wu Lingfei said. Chapter 460. Genius 1 second. Remember love/go/little? Sure, Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. That guy should be the leader of the death space. He's already at the peak of the 8th level and can enter the 9th level at any time. Wu Lingfei said. You? L forever, K long. Exempt X #FIU, look at little %/ say, Auntie Fei, are you confident in dealing with it? Night Sorrow asked. No problem, I think I'll still need you when the time comes. Wu Lingfei glanced at Night Sorrow and said. I'm fine. If you need me to do anything, just let me know. Night Sorrow said. Let's not talk about the Dark Island's spatial tunnel rejecting cultivators above the 5th level. The spatial tunnel's energy resistance is very strong, right? It looks at attributes. The death attribute suppresses other attributes, so ordinary attributes will be blocked outside. However, you won't be suppressed. You can enter. Wu Lingfei said. But won't I be abused if I go in? Night Sorrow said with a bitter smile. No, I'll put it this way. The soul orb that Auntie Fei gave you isn't an ordinary soul orb. It's a phantom stone orb that contains a soul avatar. The phantom stone can nourish the avatar. In the end, it won't be much different from the original body. Wu Lingfei said. This is Auntie Fei's soul avatar? Night Sorrow took out the phantom stone orb and looked at Wu Lingfei with surprise. Yes, When it's cultivated to perfection, it'll be a flesh and blood avatar. Wu Lingfei explained. Then I understand. Night Sorrow then put away the phantom stone orb. Last time, when I asked you to take the memory crystal to the crack in the dark sky, I wasn't worried about your safety because the phantom stone was in your arms. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. So it's like this. Then why didn't Auntie Fei take care of that fellow after seeing it last time? Night Sorrow asked the question in his heart. Because it's not worth it. Aunt Fei's clone has not cultivated to the large success realm. If it comes out from the Void Dao stone, the losses will be great. That guy is at most a jar, not even a porcelain. Do you think it's worth it for Aunt Fei to lose her own clone and fight with it? Wu Lingfei smiled as she looked at Night Sorrow. Of course it's not worth it. How can it compare to Auntie Fei? Thank you, Auntie Fei. Night Sorrow bowed and said. His heart was filled with gratitude, because Wu Lingfei had mentioned it a few times. If she were to activate the Void Dao stone orb in danger, it would be equivalent to destroying her clone's future. You call me Auntie Fei, so you are my family in this world. If you are in danger, Auntie Fei will not sit idly by. Actually, Auntie Fei has long treated you as a junior. Wu Lingfei reached out to help Night Sorrow up. Night Sorrow nodded and did not say anything else. When Auntie Fei's clone cultivates to the large success realm, you can bring the Void Dao stone orb into this space and activate it. Then, Auntie Fei's clone will be able to clean up the guy inside. Wu Lingfei said her thoughts. Auntie Fei, just inform me when you can. Night Sorrow said. Alright, then let's do it this way. You don't have to feel any pressure, this is not a big deal. Auntie Fei will go and cultivate. In addition, you don't have to worry about any law attacks. Right now, Auntie Fei is in the nourishing stage, so it won't cause any other disturbances. After Wu Lingfei finished speaking, she put on her mask and left Night Sorrow's tent. Night Sorrow had already arranged for Ho Jian and the others to set up their tents. After sending off Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow, Yang Lei, and Sikong Chu sat facing each other. It's too shocking. I've seen Venerables fight before. It's not easy for Venerables to kill Venerables. After all, at that level, if they don't want to fight, they can still run away. But Auntie Fei's methods? Sikong Chu sighed. She can dominate the battle by herself. She can directly kill them. She can directly declare that if you don't accept it, then come. I guess this Venerables won't come out. If they come out, they'll just die. Yang Lei was also deeply moved. Yi Shang didn't say anything. He just smiled at the two women and continued to cultivate. He wanted to cultivate his Zhen Qi and soul power, as well as strengthen his bloodline talent. As for the Myriad Dao treasured tome, he wanted to stabilize his cultivation and advance naturally. The consolidation realm of the Myriad Dao treasured tome was a very easy realm for Night Sorrow. In the past, every advancement and breakthrough was an unbearable torture for him. Once he started cultivating, Night Sorrow lost all sense of time. He cultivated for 3 days straight. He only stood up after exhausting all the soul crystals in his hand. His Myriad Dao treasured tome cultivation had also reached level 9 of the consolidation realm. This time, not only did Night Sorrow successfully break through the Myriad Dao treasured tome, his Qi cultivation had also reached perfection. He could break through at any time. Night Sorrow was not in a hurry to break through. He glanced at Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu who were meditating with their eyes closed. He then left the tent and went to the front of the line of defense. This time, Lord Wu Kei has really scared the dark creatures. Their line of defense collapsed. Some of the high-level dark creatures ran back, and the low-level ones were all killed. It can be said that they have regained their clarity. Lan Yuxuan came to Night Sorrow's side and said, This is the power of the strong. One person can change the situation of the battle and turn the situation around. Night Sorrow said, Wu Lingfei's arrival had caused the dark creatures to retreat. This made him feel very emotional. Your cultivation has improved very quickly. I believe that you will be such a person in the future. Lan Yuxuan looked at Night Sorrow and said, Lord Supervisor is too kind. However, I will work hard. Night Sorrow said with a smile. It's not a compliment. It's the truth. Take it slow. You can definitely do it. Lan Yuxuan looked at Night Sorrow seriously and said. Night Sorrow nodded. He believed in himself. Currently, he could fight above his level. As long as he maintained this momentum, he would definitely be able to fight above his level when he entered the Supremacy Realm in the future. As for whether he could enter the Supremacy Realm, Night Sorrow had never worried. If he could cultivate his soul power, entering the Supremacy Realm would not be a problem. Currently, the dark creatures have retreated. However, the hidden problem is still there. Every day that we don't solve it is another day that we won't feel at ease. This spatial passageway is very biased. It really makes people feel very helpless. Lan Yuxuan looked at the direction of the spatial passageway and said, everything will work out when the time comes. There shouldn't be any problem that can't be solved. It's just that the time isn't right yet. Night Sorrow said. As for the solution that Wu Lingfei mentioned, Night Sorrow did not mention it. Night Sorrow, your cultivation base has reached the peak third level of the Void Inquiry stage. You are about to enter the Mid-Void Inquiry stage. Qin Nan also walked over. Since Commander Qin is here, I plan to rest for a while before going to break through. Night Sorrow said. Very good. The speed of your improvement is really impressive. Reaching the Mid-Void Inquiry stage before the age of 20 has never happened before in the history of the 9 regions and 18 prefectures. Lan Yuxuan said. There should be. Perhaps I keep a low profile and don't want people to know about me. So, Supervisor Lan and Commander Qin, please don't praise me. Night Sorrow said. Chapter 461. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. That energy / is my innate bloodline power, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow didn't have the habit of lying. Either he evaded or didn't say anything. As for the situation with the spatial crack, Lan Yuxuan, Qin Nan, and the others had all seen it. It wasn't appropriate for him to evade. You actually have a bloodline talent? You haven't even reached Tier 5, yet your combat techniques and control are already at the Venerable Realm. You've even surpassed me. Now, you've even come up with some bloodline talent. Do you still want others to live? Qin Nan looked at Night Sorrow unhappily. I was born with it. There's nothing I can do about it, Night Sorrow said with a smile. All right, this commander has nothing to say. Qin Nan shook her head. After chatting with Qin Nan and Lan Yuxuan for a while, Night Sorrow went to have a drink with his senior brothers before returning to his tent. When Night Sorrow returned, Yang Lei and Sikong Chiu were practicing carving. Wu Lingfei was also present. Aunt Fei, you're here. Night Sorrow greeted her with a smile. And, for you to be able to find this path, you are truly formidable. This is indeed a good method. Soul power is mental energy. Focus your mind, and your soul power will increase quickly. You really have a way. Although I didn't check, Aunt Fei can feel that your soul power already has a foundation. Wu Lingfei opened her mouth and said. That's right, Wu Lingfei said. Auntie Fei, Night Sorrow is very shameless. His soul force can cultivate by itself, and he can also absorb soul crystals. We can only use this method. Sikong Chiu pointed at Night Sorrow and complained. Yi Shang really is shameless in some ways, but there's nothing we can do about it. The way you two cultivate your soul strength isn't bad. Once your foundation is stable, you can cultivate on your own. Although you can't compare to Yi Shang, you'll still be ahead of other cultivators. That's good enough, said Wu Lingfei. Yang Lei and Sikong Chiu both nodded. It was a joke to say that Night Sorrow was shameless. Love, go, little, say, all right, you guys continue to cultivate. Wu Lingfei got up and left the tent. After sending concubine Wu Ling off, Night Sorrow greeted the two ladies and went into seclusion. He wanted to break through to the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. While Night Sorrow was in seclusion, the others weren't idling around either. Some of them were in seclusion, while others were cultivating. Currently, only 7 or 8 people in the Bloodstrike Guard had yet to reach the 5th rank. Lei Bao and Lei Jing had also reached the peak of the 8th level of the Divine Severing Realm. It was only recently that they advanced to the 9th level of the Divine Severing Realm. Qin Zhen had the smoothest progress. He had already entered the Divine Severing Realm. Other than Night Sorrow, there was no one else in the Medicine Valley who could achieve this speed. It was Night Sorrow who overshadowed his sharpness. Tianyu brought the silver fox out to play every day. It was different from before. Not only did it eat cooked food, but it also ate raw food. Perhaps it needed a lot of energy. Besides, its successful advancement had also increased its ferocious qi. After spending 2 days, Night Sorrow's true qi cultivation base reached the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. After his advancement, Night Sorrow was one of the strongest second-generation disciples in the Medicine Valley. Currently, the strongest second-generation disciples in the Medicine Valley were Gong Xian and Yang Lei, who were both at the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. Night Sorrow was also at the 4th level of the Void Inquiry stage. After a successful advancement and stabilizing his cultivation base, Night Sorrow went out of the tent and stretched his body. "Silver Fox, come here." Night Sorrow was stunned when he saw the Silver Fox. It was because the Silver Fox had entered the Divine Severing Realm without him knowing. At this moment, Tianyu's spirit wave reached Night Sorrow's mind. It told Night Sorrow that the Silver Fox felt that its innate bloodline would cause a disturbance if it broke through in the campsite. Therefore, it asked Tianyu to bring it to the Broken Cloud Mountain to break through. Not bad. Night Sorrow reached out his hand and touched the Silver Fox's head. Night Sorrow played with Tianyu and the Silver Fox for a while. Then he went to visit his brothers in the Blood Robes Guards. He also asked Xueling about the issue of resources. "We have the resources. Thank you very much, Captain." Xueling bowed to Night Sorrow. "You're welcome. I can concoct pills myself. What I lack is the materials. We can slowly gather the materials. The most practical thing is to turn the resources we have into strength." Night Sorrow said, "Materials? We, the 5th squad of the Blood Robes Guards, used to train in the mountains. We have collected a lot of materials. I'll ask later." Xueling's eyes lit up when he heard Night Sorrow's words. "What kind of pills do you want to concoct? Having the materials is not a problem." Night Sorrow nodded to Xueling. After chatting with Xueling for a while, Night Sorrow went to drink with Ho Jian and Lei Bao before returning to the tent. "You don't have to worry too much. They are very motivated people," Yang Lei said. "Since they trust me as their captain, I have to ask them." Night Sorrow sat down and said, "You did well. Have some tea." Sikong Chiu poured a cup of tea for Night Sorrow. "With Aunt Fei here, it's so quiet. The dark creatures don't even come out," Night Sorrow said with a smile. "Aunt Fei's existence is the reason they came out. They are attacking the insurmountable mountain of the eastern Xian region. If they don't defeat Aunt Fei, all their methods and everything they rely on will be useless," Sikong Chiu said. "I don't know how long it will take to finish things here. Let's just cultivate here." Night Sorrow said, "We'd better go with the flow. A calm heart will be at peace." Yang Lei patted Night Sorrow's shoulder. She was worried that Night Sorrow would not like this situation. Night Sorrow nodded. His state of mind was relatively calm. In the following days, Night Sorrow cultivated his foundation at night and his combat skills during the day. Then, he took Tianyu out to hunt to improve the food of the Blood Robes Guards. In addition, his 7-star Brilliant Moon Spear had reached 6 spears in 1. X only, I genuine EQ, Q his carat he 3 was a pirated version. According to Wuling Fei, he would be able to cultivate the 7-star Brilliant Moon Spear to perfection when he reached the late 5th order. The Blood Robes Guards, Ho Jian, and the others would practice combat skills every day. However, Night Sorrow couldn't because there was no one to spar with him. Cultivating the 7-star Brilliant Moon Spear to 6 spears in 1 allowed Night Sorrow's combat ability to improve. Night Sorrow also wanted to cultivate the Rebound Energy and Needle in the Cotton, but he was stopped by Wuling Fei, who had come out to take a breather. Wuling Fei felt that Night Sorrow's 3 energy exertion techniques were enough. Switching back and forth between 3 energy exertion techniques was already very good for offense and defense. Night Sorrow had absorbed Wu Lingfei's opinion. He also understood that some things were much better when cultivated to perfection than when grasping many things without proficiency. In addition, Wu Lingfei also taught Night Sorrow how to hide his attributes on a deeper level. Previously, Night Sorrow had used the mysterious jade spiritual energy in his hands to change his attributes, which was more troublesome. Now, Wu Lingfei had taught Night Sorrow a unique skill to dissolve his attributes. This was the second stage of the mysterious jade hands. When the Dantian's true qi was circulated through the veins in the hands, the mysterious jade hands characteristics would be used to dissolve the attributes. The second stage of the mysterious jade hands was very powerful. Not only did it solve Night Sorrow's problem of concealing his attributes, it could also dissolve the opponent's attributes. This was a heaven-defying method. Chapter 462. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? I'll provide you with wonderful novels to read. Thank you, Aunt Fei. Love go little. Chu Night Sorrow, who had successfully upgraded the mysterious jade hands, bowed to Wu Lingfei. Hee, Aunt Fei is happy that you've achieved something. I'm really happy. Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Actually, I like Aunt Fei's ice seal the most. That move is really domineering. Night Sorrow said. That won't work. That's the manifestation of Aunt Fei's mysterious jade body's ice attribute energy. You only have ice attribute in your hands. That's far from enough. Moreover, the mysterious jade hands can only dissolve ordinary attributes. Ordinary attributes can't restrain it, but it can't dissolve high-level attributes. It can only dissolve your own attributes because they all come from your body. Wu Lingfei said while shaking her head. Night Sorrow helplessly nodded. He couldn't cultivate the ice seal. There was nothing he could do about it. Night Sorrow, you should be content with what you have. Wait until you've succeeded in cultivating the nihility attribute. You'll have more trump cards. The sovereign attribute can suppress other attributes. However, it's better if you don't show it. It'll attract too much hatred. Wu Lingfei sighed. She had never heard of anyone who could master the sovereign attribute. I'll work hard. Night Sorrow said while waving his arms. Take your time. I'm really looking forward to it. Wu Lingfei said. Aunt Fei, there's one more thing I want to tell you. After the matter here is settled, I'll leave the Eastern Xian region to explore the outside world. Night Sorrow said to Wu Lingfei. Aunt Fei understands. Aunt Fei won't stop you. We'll discuss it in detail when the time comes. Wu Lingfei said. Okay, I'll tell Aunt Fei in detail when the time comes. Night Sorrow said. Those guys are asking for a beating. They even want to expand their forces towards the Eastern Xian region. We've really given them some face. This matter isn't over yet. Wu Lingfei said. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that Wu Lingfei had a huge grudge with the Qingtian region and Taiyue region. To be precise, it was the Eastern Xian region that had a huge grudge with them. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow began to cultivate. Night Sorrow's cultivation was multi-pronged. He ate the origin spiritual liquid, held the ice spirit blood essence in his left hand, and held the soul crystal in his right hand. He cultivated his quintessential qi, the myriad Daos tome, and his soul energy together. This made Yang Lei and Sikong Chu shake their heads. This situation had only happened to Night Sorrow. They had never heard of anyone else doing this. Time passed quickly, and in the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Night Sorrow was facing a problem as well. He had used up all the ice spirit blood essence, and his myriad Tao tome was only at the mid-stage of the 9th level of the consolidation realm. He was still half a level away. This made Night Sorrow feel very helpless. He really didn't want to use the life spirit liquid. The life spirit liquid was a top-grade resource. In the future, he would be able to use it when he reached the 6th or even the 7th step of the myriad Tao tome. Using it now was equivalent to killing the goose that laid the golden eggs. What's wrong? Why are you frowning? Wu Lingfei entered the tent and saw Night Sorrow frowning. Resources. Auntie Fei, you know that I cultivate my body. I'm currently at the peak of the 4th step, and I'm just one step away from advancing. However, I still don't have the resources to reach the 5th step. Night Sorrow said, when you reach the 4th step, you used the Ice Spirit Blood Essence to aid your cultivation, right? You can continue to search for the 5th step resources in the Eastern Icefield's Icefield Sea. Wu Lingfei said, the Ice Spirit Blood Essence is very suitable for my cultivation of the 4th step. However, it's lacking when it comes to the 5th step. Night Sorrow expressed his confusion. Auntie Fei, you know that the Eastern Icefield Sea doesn't only have the Ice Spirit Blood Essence. There's also a type of black tortoise crystal. It's an energy body that's even stronger than the Ice Spirit Blood Essence. However, this type of crystal is buried at the bottom of the Icefield Sea and is very difficult to find. When your body's qi and blood churn and your essence qi rises, it should trigger a reaction from the black tortoise crystal. Wu Lingfei opened her mouth and said, that's right, Wu Lingfei said. Then I understand. It's good that you have a target. I'll go look for it later. Night Sorrow was somewhat excited. The general area is east of the Eastern Snow Mountain. Black tortoises have appeared in that sea region. The black tortoise crystal is formed when their energy is tempered by the Icefield Sea's Icefield Qi after they die. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow, good. That's great. Night Sorrow was extremely happy. Then, Auntie Fei will tell you another piece of good news. Wu Lingfei smiled at Night Sorrow. Auntie Fei, don't spoil my appetite. Tell me what other good news you have. I've been having a headache trying to find the resources to cultivate this body. It's best if you can solve it. Night Sorrow asked somewhat anxiously. The black tortoise crystal is ordinary. There's also a type of blood spirit tortoise. After their deaths, they'll be tempered by the Icefield Sea and form a crystal that contains even more tyrannical energy. That's the blood spirit tortoise crystal. Of course, it's very difficult to obtain. Wu Lingfei said, I'll definitely get it. As long as it's available, I'll find a way to get it. Night Sorrow said, this is what Auntie Fei found after she was injured. It's recorded in an ancient body cultivator's handbook. It's definitely available, but it's very difficult to obtain. That senior only managed to obtain one. Wu Lingfei said, then I'll prepare and set off. Night Sorrow said, you have to be steady. Steadiness is also a result of settling down and also a sign of maturity. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Chapter TG New Chapter, Section Z. Night Sorrow understands. I'm just too excited. This problem has always been on my mind. If I can solve this problem, then I'll only need to cultivate in the future and not think about anything else. Night Sorrow clenched his fist and said, I won't stimulate you anymore. Prepare and set off. Also be careful. The blood spirit tortoise is not to be trifled with. It's very strong, but its weakness is its slow speed. The other threat is the snow doves. They're a group of demon beasts. Wu Lingfei said, don't worry, Auntie Fei. Night Sorrow nodded. I'm not worried about you. Also, if your life is in danger, just activate the Void Dao Stone Orb. My doppelganger will be able to cultivate to large success. When you reach the Ice Plains Sea, my doppelganger will be more or less finished cultivating. Wu Lingfei warned Night Sorrow. I understand. Then I'll set off tonight. Night Sorrow said. Wu Lingfei nodded and didn't say anything else. She'd already warned him. After chatting with Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu for a while and informing the Bloodstrike Guards and Ho Jian, Night Sorrow rode on Tianyu and set off with Silver Fox. Tianyu's speed was extremely fast. In a few hours, they arrived at Nebula Sect's Nebula City. Night Sorrow took the teleportation array to the Thunder Rumbling Sect. The Thunder Rumbling Sect was the closest to the Eastern Ice Plains. Night Sorrow wore a mask, so the people from the Thunder Rumbling Sect didn't even ask. After leaving the Thunder Rumbling City, Night Sorrow flew towards the Eastern Ice Plains. Even from the Thunder Rumbling Sect to the Eastern Ice Plains, there was still a distance of hundreds of thousands of miles. Tianyu flew rapidly every day. Night Sorrow cultivated on Tianyu's back. Night Sorrow noticed that Silver Fox's cultivation was increasing very quickly. Its speed of absorbing energy was very fast. Night Sorrow could almost feel the energy of heaven and earth converging on its body. Night Sorrow's cultivation was also increasing very quickly. Now, he was cultivating without any distractions. He was even faster than when he was camping at Broken Cloud Mountain. After all, there were still some things to take care of at the campsite. Chapter 463. Genius 1 second. Remember love go/little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. The nine-tailed fox was a top-tier beast in ancient times. It was also in the top 10 of the beast ranking. It was on the same level as the green roc, black swan, golden dragon, and blood kirin. This was also the reason why Night Sorrow didn't dare to expose the silver fox in front of others. It was too shocking and would cause conflict. The nine-tailed fox's bloodline was very noble. Its blood was an extremely precious material that could change a cultivator's physique. If word got out, who knew how many people would covet it? The silver fox had 5 tails. 4 were big and 1 was small at the bottom. However, its size was still the same. It didn't grow, but its combat strength had increased a lot. The silver fox's 4 sharp claws and tails were fierce weapons. Ordinary level 4 monsters couldn't even touch its shadow before they were killed. However, Night Sorrow still didn't know what attribute this silver fox had. After 20 days, Night Sorrow arrived at the eastern ice field. When he arrived at the eastern ice field, Night Sorrow had a familiar feeling. He had been here twice, and each time, it was different. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow didn't get off his mount. He directly flew. He felt that there was no need to run on the ice. 1 piece of ice spirit blood essence was enough. There was no need to specifically look for it. When he went to the East Snow Mountain to look for the Xian Turtle Crystal, he could do it on the way. At the same time, Night Sorrow also knew the importance of resources. If he had the support of the ice spirit blood essence, he would have reached the peak of the consolidation realm. However, there was still a long way to go. After spending a day and a half, Night Sorrow arrived at the East Snow Mountain. Standing on Tianyu's back and looking at the East Snow Mountain, Night Sorrow felt a little emotional. The Wuling Fei he met here had also changed his own path here. Without stopping, Night Sorrow rode Tianyu and continued to fly east. After flying for a few hundred miles, Night Sorrow's body flashed and landed on the ice. This was the area that Wuling Fei had mentioned. In other words, there was a Xian Turtle Crystal here. After landing on the ice, Night Sorrow started to circulate the myriad Tao Tome at full speed. He was still trying to attract the ice spirit's blood essence to erupt. More accurately, he was trying to attract the black tortoise's spiritual body to erupt. At this moment, Night Sorrow was circulating the myriad Daos Tome at full power. The essence chi above his head had already reached a height of more than 10 meters. After Night Sorrow activated the myriad Dao Tome, he ran on the ice. After running for tens of miles, an explosive sound came from the ice surface. An ice well appeared. Then, a blood-red crystal appeared in the well. In the past, Night Sorrow had to be very careful when collecting them. Now, he didn't have to. He stretched out his arm and shot out a beam of energy, shaking the ice origin well. Then, he reached out and grabbed the ice spirit blood essence. Love go little, say, Night Sorrow exhaled. The ice spirit blood essence could no longer satisfy his needs. What he needed were the spirit turtle crystals, and in large quantities at that. After all, those were the resources to support his Dao Querying Realm cultivation in the Myriad Dao Treasured Tome. Going from the Dao Querying Realm to the Spirit Refinement Realm required a large amount of resources. Then, Night Sorrow continued to move forward. For hours later, Night Sorrow felt a tremor beneath his feet. The tremor was getting stronger and stronger. Then there was a rumbling sound. After Night Sorrow left his original spot, he realized that the rumbling sound was following him. Then, there was an explosion behind him. The ice surface exploded and a water column shot up into the sky. In the water column, there was a white light that rushed towards Night Sorrow. Not knowing what was going on, Night Sorrow activated his protective shield and retreated quickly. Night Sorrow retreated quickly. The white light chased after him. However, at this moment, Night Sorrow could see clearly what the white light was. It was a white crystal that contained extremely dense energy. It was the energy of blood. After stopping, Night Sorrow waved his arm and grabbed the crystal in his hand. Mystic Tortoise Crystal. After grabbing the crystal that was the size of a human head, Night Sorrow confirmed what it was. It was the Mystic Tortoise Crystal that he needed. Night Sorrow reached out and rubbed the Mystic Tortoise Crystal. Then he put it in his ring and continued moving forward. Night Sorrow felt that finding the Mystic Tortoise Crystal was more convenient than finding the Ice Spirit Blood Essence. This thing resonated more strongly with his blood. However, it was deeper in the sea, so it would take a longer time to trigger. Night Sorrow activated the Myriad Tau Tome at full speed and continued running. However, while running, Night Sorrow swallowed the spiritual origin liquid and held the Ice Spirit Blood Essence in his hand. He cultivated as he ran. Half a day later, another Mystic Tortoise Crystal was in Night Sorrow's hand. Night Sorrow was very satisfied with this speed. Originally, he was worried that this thing would not be easy to find and would take a long time. However, according to this speed, it would not be too difficult. In the evening, Night Sorrow was also attacked. It was the most common flying demonic beast in the eastern ice field, snow doves. Moreover, they were flying demonic beasts that lived in groups. However, this group of snow doves was of a low level. The strongest was only rank 4. This group of snow doves did not pose a threat to him. This was due to Tianyu's strength. Every time Tianyu attacked, he would take the life of a snow dove. Rank 4 snow doves could not resist at all in front of the rank 5 Tianyu. After a dozen or so of them were killed, the snow doves retreated. They were suppressed by Tianyu in terms of talent and cultivation, so they did not have the ability to fight. Night Sorrow was not interested in participating in this kind of battle. He continued to run and search for the Mystic Tortoise Crystal. His days were very stable. Night Sorrow ran every day. In any case, it did not affect his cultivation. Tianyu followed behind Night Sorrow in the sky. Silver Fox was more comfortable than Night Sorrow and Tianyu. It ran behind Night Sorrow. When it was tired, it would ask Tianyu to lower its flying altitude. It would then jump on Tianyu's back to rest. When it had rested enough, it would run behind Night Sorrow. In the blink of an eye, Night Sorrow had stayed in this area for more than 20 days. He collected some Ice Spirit Blood Essences, a dozen Mystic Tortoise Crystals, and 2 Blood Spirit Tortoise Crystals. Night Sorrow was not satisfied with such a harvest. He did not want to let go of the opportunity to obtain cultivation resources in the future. He wanted to get more. This way, he would not have to worry about the future and would not need to come here again. Night Sorrow, who had made up his mind, continued to run back and forth in this area. These 20 days of cultivation had allowed his Myriad Tao treasured tome to reach the peak of the 9th level of the consolidation realm. He would enter the Tao querying realm with one more step. Night Sorrow was not in a hurry to level up the Myriad Tao treasured tome. He consolidated the cultivation of the Myriad Tao treasured tome while cultivating his soul power and chi. As time passed, Night Sorrow's harvest increased. He estimated that he had enough cultivation resources for the Tao querying realm. However, he only had 6 Blood Spirit Tortoise Crystals. It was still a little short of the number he wanted. Although he did not know how many resources were needed to reach the Golden Body realm from the Spirit Refinement realm, Night Sorrow knew that it would not be a small amount. After calculating the time, Night Sorrow had been out of the Eastern Xian Domain's Broken Cloud Mountain for more than 2 months. It was almost 3 months. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow felt that he should stay for a while longer. After all, Wu Lingfei was there. There would not be any problems. Above, Night Sorrow ran as he pondered. At this moment, the ground beneath Night Sorrow's feet shook violently. It was much stronger than before. It was almost incomparable. Yi Shang's expression changed slightly as he continued to run forward. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.